Hey everyone, welcome to Dallow Podcast, episode 94. This week we're going to be talking about collecting, our collecting goals, our hobbies, gatekeeping in the hobby with other collectors. And this can be anything from video games, toys, movies, cars, guitars, whatever. You name it, anything is collectible. Let me introduce my guest tonight. So, Owaz,
Hi. No, I'm Owazrim. I stream on Twitch, I make videos for YouTube, and I am a big collector. I mean, you can see there's some games over here, there's games back there, but then there's Spider-Man 2099. There's stuff all over the place. There's just toys, Lego. So if it catches my eye, I might grab one.
all right, Wubs.
Hi, everybody. I'm Wubs, and I do a little bit of YouTube production with a buddy. We're working on a podcast right now, reviewing all of the James Bond movies and books and video games. His name's Tylord. We can throw that link below if anybody's interested in checking that out. And I'm also working on building a new channel where I interview people about their favorite video games and movies. So that's not live yet, but it will be later. And I like to collect video games, comics, and I do have a car I'll talk about too.
Ryan.
What's up, guys? Richard Ryan here. I have an 80s, 90s nostalgia-based channel. I show a lot of footage of old toy commercials, game commercials. I do a live stream every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard. I take game requests live, and I play cover song requests on guitar, play guitar and sing, do covers live. And I also have a channel, Super Mega Retro, that is a little bit dormant at the moment, but I have interviews on there. I had a podcast on there, and it's a good place to find a lot of content creator based videos where we kind of talked about the process and what makes people tick, what goes into their collecting, what kind of like what we talk about here. But it was more like on Super Mega Retro, I was doing something that's kind of like inside the actor's studio kind of thing, where we peel apart the layers of what makes somebody's channel, what kind of content they make, why they do it, how they edit, all that kind of stuff. And anyways, without being too long-winded, those are the two channels that I have.
Yeah, and everyone, if you want to check these guys out, if you don't already follow them, their links and everything will be down below in the description. But yeah, guys, so what got you guys into collecting?
I haven't ever really thought about that. It's just I don't know. I don't know if it's because as a kid, we didn't have much. So what we did have, I really enjoyed it, and some of it I was able to get back. And then you're like, oh wait, there's this stuff that I really wanted as a kid, and now I can go and get it.
Oh yeah, I look at it like
Yeah.
filling in the gaps. Like I wanted to get back what I loved that I used to have, and then get all the things that I couldn't afford that I can afford now. Whether it's games, toys, guitars, all that. So it's kind of like rekindling the past, but also filling in the gaps of where you the things that you wished you could have had but you didn't.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Definitely as far as comics go, for sure, because I didn't start collecting comics till later. I was into games fairly early on, but like Oaz said, I didn't have but so much growing up. So what I did have, I really cherished and kept a lot of those things even to this day. And like Ryan said, now that we have more resources, it's much easier to just fill in those gaps and collect what we like and focus on our evolving interests. So it's a fun hobby, and because we can afford it, why not, right?
I have a question for you guys. So the way I collect, I like to live because if you collect toys or games, it can get overwhelming, right? The amount, the library, just the history, just how much there is out there, right? And you can't have everything. But yeah, and we're looking at these awesome game rooms. But my question for you guys is like, I like to take a line I like, whether it's like He-Man toys or it's like the NES library, and I like to whittle it down to what do I have to have? Like separate the need from the want, right? Like what is really on my wish list. And because once you do that, I feel like, at least for me, I'm going to be happier than if I just kind of grab at just pieces of that library and I'm not sure. I want to do my research. I want to find what games do I really want? Which of the toys in that line do I really want? Because I can't afford them all. And let me get the figures that I have to have. Let me get the games that I have to have. Now I'm not broke, and now I can do it. So do you ever draw that line in the sand, is my question for you guys, where you limit yourself purposefully so you're happier with the results?
For me, it depends on the collection. Like for Transformers, usually most of my stuff is going to be G1 style, so like Snarl over here, he's one of the newer figures, but he represents that original G1 figure. So it's not like it's a new character that came out with some Transformers series later on after G1. I collect stuff that's G1. So if I can get things that look cartoon accurate, that's what I'm going to do. So I might not there may be a wave of like 6 figures, and maybe 2 of those figures out of that wave are G1. The rest are maybe Armada, Michael Bay Transformers, which is the worst movies series ever. So I kind of curtail like my experience, even with my Star Wars figures. It's usually going to be original trilogy or the prequels, and that's about it. Maybe the expanded universe, but nothing from the sequel stuff.
Good choice.
I think mine is a little bit of everything, and you got to watch, because you can easily slide from, okay, well, I just want to get these, and it's like, well, I'm going to have 80% of the collection if I do that, and I'll end up picking up another chunk of that while trying to get, particularly in games. If you're buying games in lots, you can be like, okay, well, I bought these 15 games and I only really wanted 13 of them, but now I've got these other 2, and it's going to push me closer to having the entire collection for that series or that that system. Because like I ended up getting a full all the games that were released in the US for the Sega Master System, because I got so close. It was like, well, I got James Buster Douglas in a really sweet deal. It didn't really cost me all that much, which is one of the most expensive games. I came across the others through lots. I was like, okay, well, the last 2 games I needed, one of them was Joe Montana Football, and I was like, oh, I'm not gonna play this game. I'd be like, I'm too away from the set. I'm too away from the set. So, and for a while I was like, I gotta get a complete inbox. I want everything. I was like, wait a minute, I can get it for like $10, have the cart, and I'm good. So I got that, and I got the other game, RC Grand Prix, without the manual. I was like, I needed to have the game. I wanted something that I could actually play, and so I got those. And so I ended up I wasn't planning on it, but I slided into collecting the entire catalog. But I always had a price limit of, I wasn't going to pay more than $60 for a game, whether it was complete in box or whether it was loose. That didn't matter. This is the point for the classic or vintage games, was $60, and so like it prices me out of some of the bigger titles, and that's fine, because I can pay $60 for 3 games and get good games, or just as good games, just not as popular or not as rare. And I mean, there's something kind of different like that with the toys too. You find stuff that you like, and then I think with the toys though, it might be a little bit easier, for at least for me, to not collect an entire series.
Right.
Because like like the Transformers, Grimlock, he's my Dinobot, he's my Transformer. If I see a cool Grimlock, I'll keep an eye on it, especially if I think it'll go down in price. I got the Transformers 86 Grimlock just sitting up there. That's the only 86 version of any of them that I've picked up. I've looked at the others, but I was just like, I have this this love, this enjoyment of Grimlock. So I was willing to pay. The other ones are just like, it's not where I want to be price wise.
They are expensive.
I definitely can relate to that because I have kind of a similar rule. I don't do a lot of vintage game collecting just because of how pricey it can get, but I definitely like to, I haven't, for instance, like I haven't bought a new game since Final Fantasy VIII came out in 1999. Like that was like the last like day one game I ever bought. And nowadays, I don't want to buy day one games because more often than not, they're broke day one. They need a bunch of patches and stuff, and I don't like that. So what I tend to do is something similar where I'd rather take $60 and buy a bunch of games that are either older or used. And yeah, even if it's not like the latest and greatest thing, it's like I'm still getting a bunch of really good games. And most of the games I get, I know that they're really good because I've either watched playthrough videos or read reviews. My friends have told me about them. So I actually feel like I have a better collection probably.
With what Wubs was saying is like, you get we could have gone to digital versus physical, which was you did what last week,
Mhm.
week before, and it would easily go that way because you talk about day one patches and all of that stuff, and I'm like, it's so right there because Sonic Colors Ultimate, it was one of the ones that was on sale at Walmart for it was the most expensive game I picked up that day. It was $12.
$12, yeah.
But it was a 10 gig install, an 8 gig update. And I'm like, I just want to play the game. And I thought Sonic Colors was originally released on the Wii U
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
and those systems. It's like, why does it need such a huge update unless not everything was on the disc? And I was just like, oh, there's almost no point to buying physical
No,
games.
not anything now. There's no reason other than like if it's, maybe a limited run or a certain specific like indie title that's getting a physical release, it's going to be on the game, on the disc versus if it being a day one patch. Because usually that's going to be most standard games. Because even like I think Stellar Blade has an update like day one.
Well, there's been things that cause that game to apparently need updates. Like there was one of the screenshots going around that everyone was crying about, and I was like, I don't even understand what is wrong. What that particular
References,
phrase?
I didn't either. I had no clue.
Because I thought it meant that it was a movie that was
Rated R.
almost went up to NC-17.
Correct. That's how I took it too.
And I was like, I don't understand what's on. I was like, I don't want to look it up because I don't know what I'm gonna find. And then I think I was on X and I was reading through some stuff and like, this is what it means. And I was like, when did it get that
I mean,
connotation?
pirates give a hard whenever they talk with any word.
Yeah.
So are they being that way? It just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't get it.
Most of the whining and complaining of
Oh, it was like a language thing. That was the update, or like it was like something they had to edit
No.
out.
So there was things that they added. They patched out one of the costumes for the main character instead of it being just kind of like like a nightgown. It was like she had like a sports bra
Mhm.
underneath or something. And it's like, okay, really? I mean, we're adults buying this game. We should be implementing the ESRB for these things. Like, grandma should know, hey,
Right,
my son wants this. Are you old enough to play it or whatever? It's just like we take out
right.
the whole point of being parents and responsible
Yep.
for our children, but we want to blame everyone else when things go wrong. It's like, come on, guys, just take up, have accountability.
but that's what happens when you hand all
The
the
same
power to
thing
somebody else.
happened.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like, I know this is an extreme example, but that's exactly what happened during the Columbine shootings, right? They blamed everything except the parents.
Yep. It was the Matrix. It was the video games they were playing. It wasn't even
Marilyn
the fact
Manson.
it wasn't
Yep.
even the fact that these kids were getting bullied in school and
Yeah.
like
Yep.
They were pushed to the brink because no one was wanting to help them with therapy and stuff. But what they did
Yep.
was horrible. I'm not justifying what they did, but the thing is that the system failed these kids, just
Yeah.
like we fail everything because we don't want to actually fix a problem. We just want to put a band-aid on it or blame other things for it because then we don't have to take responsibility.
Well, if
I will say, as a gamer, with this Stellar Blade thing, I'm glad I didn't have the pre-order because if they did what you're describing, I would have been very offended by that. Like, as if I thought certain product and then Sony edits it day one, like I would have been furious about
Yeah.
that.
yeah,
Um,
And-
yeah, go ahead.
y'all heard about the Tomb Raider thing too, right? The two posters. It was just like, really? I mean, I haven't played through any of those original Tomb Raider games, and I thought about picking it up,
hmm
but I was like, if they're gonna, and apparently they've reversed that now, so they're back. And so it's like, why are we getting
What
so
was the what
other
was the
people?
issue?
There was basically like two little pinup pictures in a locker room or something of Laura in a kind of suggestive and seductive poses, I should say, because there was two
Yeah.
poses,
Okay,
and there was an update to pull them off,
sure.
and we don't know why they were pulled, other than I guess people complaining, but then they put them back.
People were pulling
Right.
something.
Well, they
Pulling
should be,
something about
instead of
it.
not pulling
This-
material, right?
Off of that, they need to go get some help because
Yeah. Well, it's sad too because like even like what's going to happen with the next Tomb Raider game anyway? It's like they're not tomb raiding because we shouldn't steal from a cult. I'm like, really? Are you going to go badmouth Indiana Jones? Like, it's like this has been a profession for forever.
Yeah.
Instead of like this belongs in a museum, no, it belongs at this person's collection, or back to the people or something.
Yeah.
What about Womb
So do you
Raider?
want to work that into gatekeeping?
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah.
What about
That's a perfect
Womb
segue.
Raider? Like, we just got to get her prego. That's like, forget about forget
Well,
about
look,
the trees and the
You need to
caves.
have someone. You need to have someone who can program that into the game, right?
Modders can make it happen,
Yeah, modders can make it happen. Yeah.
but that's just
I don't know. I think that just sounds like a great spin-off that should be its own trilogy.
oh my word.
Well, how many people actually we lost them again, but
Lost
how
them
many
again.
people sat there and like tried to put the nude code in that was the April Fool's joke? You got to jump off this pillar in the mansion and as soon as she dives, you push these buttons and it'll she comes out nude. It's like, what, really? How many people did that? It was just an April Fool's joke.
Huh? I never owned any of the Tomb Raider games, so
They're good. I mean, the first three are really good. The newer ones that came out, those were all really good. The remakes.
Mm.
I played the first one. It was awesome.
yeah, I thought about picking up that collection, but there's all these updates and everything else, and I'm kind of like, oh man, I was, and I think I'm picking up on the Switch, which apparently the Switch SD cards or whatever they're using are kind of volatile, so they may not last more than a couple decades.
Mhm.
I'm just like, what's the point of even having it physical? It's
Don't tell me that, Owaz.
Brian's
I need these to last.
sitting on
outlive
a
me.
massive,
I need
massive Switch collection.
the Switch SD cards to outlive me.
Well,
depends on how rough of a life you live. They might.
they may. Yeah, exactly. We know that
Right?
any animal
You're
that tries
down
to
at-
eat them are going to
you
have
know,
a
I mean-
reaction to the tasting the cart, so they're not going to get eaten for sure by rodents or
Hold on, what?
insects. Oh, the plastic on the carts, if you put it in your mouth, there's a chemical in there. It makes it to where it's designed so that way a kid doesn't swallow the cart. It's supposed to make it has a reaction on your tongue. It tastes bad.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Mhm. Yep.
I am super tempted to grab the card right now.
Hey, make a video, man. Make a video. Go for it. I don't know if they
Right.
still, I mean, but I know that that first group of games for like the first 2-3 years, that was a big thing. It was like, and people were like going and tasting. It's like, it does taste awful. Just some kind of chemical within the plastic that it's supposed to prevent you to want to spit it out so kids don't swallow the games. So, I mean, that's the thing. If we're going back to the whole digital, physical, or just collecting, there are people in the community that expect people to collect a certain way, or you or
Mm,
expect it
Yeah,
to play a
or
certain way.
what they consider retro or not retro.
right.
Because there's that gray area. When does it start? Like some purists will say that if it's carts, it's retro. If it's discs, it's modern. But we all know that like PS1, PS2 at this point is
And
beginning to be
PS3.
retro because it's so long ago. So
Well,
So
it's not
then,
just
Sega CD and TurboGrafx, like
right.
yeah,
Panda
even
Express,
I
like
was
better.
gonna
Even
say
better.
PC
before
games,
those.
PC games from the early '90s.
But and that's
They
the
came on
interesting
discs.
thing. You bring up PC games. No one talks about. There's no generations in PC games, so no one really talks about what is a retro PC game other than um, big
Yeah.
box. If you have a
Yeah,
big
big
box or
box.
PC game,
Yep.
you can collect those.
Right.
But like that's like, and I don't hear people talk about those. Like I've picked up a
You
few
know
big
one
box
guy that
games.
does lazy game reviews. You ever watch LGR? He's a big box collector. Bigly, he's a big box PC collector.
So is Metal Jesus.
I
Yeah, they both are.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't watch much of Metal Jesus' stuff anymore. I just got to a point where I was like, I just don't care whatever he's he's talking about.
Yeah, he told you too many games were hidden gems. It was.
No, actually, I enjoyed those old videos, but I don't know. It just got to a point where most of his stuff, I was just like, I didn't care anymore for what he was saying.
Can't
You know
relate
what I
to
think
him.
he's best at? Those trips. The trip videos, like where he's going to conventions or
Yeah.
like Japan, or he films
Mhm.
those well.
Oh,
But I know what you mean. It's
I
he
haven't watched
kind of
any of those.
curtails to like the collectors that aren't really in the game that long yet. Like he kind of gives you a lot of stuff that you already know. But for somebody like just starting, it would be good to watch him.
Hmm. That might have something to do with it. I hadn't.
Well, yeah, because he's always saying like something's a hidden gem, and we've known about these games for like a decade.
Yeah. Well, and
Well,
I hate that term. So that might be a form of
hidden gem.
gatekeeping of
That
itself.
that could be,
A
yeah.
hidden gem. It's just like, and I don't even really know. It's like, okay, could we call them diamonds in the rough? Just an unknown, underrated game.
Obscure
Just
game. I mean, like I that's kind of how I would,
Yeah.
because it's like there's a lot of games that people just don't know about. Because like I've talked about something and no one in our community knows about it. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
it's
Well, you know
interesting
what the
seeing that
problem is
perspective.
too? If you really reduce it to what people like us, if you reduce it to just the games that we don't know, it would be such a small list. Because we like at this point we've been collecting like at least a decade, and we've been playing games most of our lives. So if you really had to reduce it to what's really a hidden gem, he wouldn't have enough videos to make. So he has to kind of be more middle of the road with it's going to be a lot of games we know about.
yeah.
There's a lot of PC Engine games that I don't know anything about because I didn't know about the PC Engine at all when I was a kid. So that's like an area. Like I feel like a lot of people have like blind spots like that. Now maybe not like bigger collectors like you guys, but like when I was watching Happy Console Gamer, I learned all about PC Engine because he's really into it. I knew nothing about that at all before that, and that was really interesting. But that's the sort of thing I feel like is more obscure than most of what Metal Jesus talks about.
Well, the good thing about like with some of these guys anyway is that they are introducing a newer audience to something, that they may have never heard before. Like like Wubs just said about the TurboGrafx. I played it once when I was a kid and I was at a friend's house and he had bonks. That's it. But and I didn't even know that there was a game that got released here called Blazing Lasers that was called Gunhead in Japan, which is a kind of sequel spin-off to a movie called Gunhead that was made by Toho. And I was like, holy crap, if what I'd known about this, I would have been trying to find this game like years ago. But I'm okay with having my mini, and it's cool being able to experience and know about this stuff. Um, I mean, he has a good presentation. It's like I love Happy Console Gamer. Johnny Millennium's awesome. I love watching his content. I can relate with him because of just how similar our experiences are. Um, but like he has totally different, like all of us have different experiences, different walks of life, and it's cool getting to hear these stories. But going back into gatekeeping, some people don't want to hear that. They don't
Not
want
a lot of people can do what Johnny Millennium does. Be captivating,
to.
kneeling at a table, you know.
Yeah.
But he can. There's really a select few amount of people that can do that.
Oh,
And it's
absolutely.
because he is so enthusiastic and his stories are so vivid. And yeah, like that's why I'm always saying he should write a book. Because he's that good of a storyteller. This should his life could be in a book, just his experiences gaming and growing up with, like, mix the anime in there with the gaming and everything, because he's that vivid of a storyteller.
I think he could make a movie about his life and it'd probably be great because
Right.
he's so vivid and descriptive and how he
Mhm.
Yeah,
speaks and
movie, a book, something. He should.
everything he does is visual, right? He's dealing with a visual medium in video games. So, not that a book wouldn't be cool too, but I think a movie would be awesome.
Well, it's a lot of the YouTube experience sometimes curtails our direction of how we go with our collecting and the people we hang out with sometimes. So,
Dude, you know how bummed I am still that the Console Wars book didn't get the true movie, and then it was just that documentary? That sucks. That has to be, dude. Sega versus Nintendo in the '90s. That is a great movie. Have you read
Yeah,
the book Console Wars, Oaz?
I have not.
it's good.
Dude, that book, like, even if you're not a big reader, I'm telling you, get that book. It's fascinating. It's all from the perspective of Tom Kalinske, the CEO of Sega and the marketing department in the '90s, and it's all you get both sides too. You get the Nintendo side and what they were doing, and they were just fighting fire with fire and just putting out amazing games. And the stories in there are, or just listen to the audio book like it's a damn podcast. Like it's worth it, man. It's some of the best gaming stories I've ever heard in that book.
It was cool
I'll
to
have
find
check
out
it
about. Oh, yeah.
I was saying because it like my thing is like with the Genesis, people don't realize the Genesis wasn't made to compete with the Super Nintendo. It was made to compete with the NES.
Yeah.
And it did that. But not only was it able to do that, it also fought off against the Super Nintendo, which was a better machine because it came out later.
Mm-hmm.
And they were still able to make that shift from, all right, we've got some market here fighting against the NES, and now let's crank it up and hit the Super Nintendo, which for most purposes was a better machine. And so yeah, I'll have to try and find the audiobook so I can listen to that. That's
It's
how
worth it.
And they were even going head to head still with some of the Disney games that are coming out. Like when they put out Aladdin, that was a huge seller for Genesis. And it wasn't until the tides turned when they did the Donkey Kong Country. I was telling Wubs this in our talk last night. That was the game changer that put Super Nintendo a little bit above as far as sales. Once Donkey Kong Country came out, because as we know, the even as much as I love the Model 1, it just couldn't put out those graphics. It couldn't do Donkey Kong Country graphics.
well, I mean, the thing is, like with was it Virtual Racing? That was the first time I think Sega was all right, we're gonna put more into the PCB to improve the graphics. Everything else was
kind of like their
console doing
kind of like their Mode 7.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that was the only game that they used that for on the Genesis.
I know.
And
And
the
so-
funny thing is, Vector Man looks like was using it, but
Yeah, Vector Man and Vector Man 2, towards the end of the
Yes.
console life and what they were able to do with that, they look great.
Gunstar Heroes looked really good, as I recall.
Yeah, the Konami stuff, like Hyperstone, the Contra game on Genesis,
mhm.
all those look good. Like really pushed. Rocket Knight Adventures. Oh my God, Rocket Knight Adventures looks like a Super Nintendo. Like the graphics are phenomenal.
Yeah, sprite works great.
Yeah, like as far as bragging rights, not like on a Sega game looking amazing. Obviously, Shinobi 3.
Mm-hmm. That's the one. That's my favorite.
The X-Men Genesis game looked fantastic.
Yeah. And then X-Men 2 throws you in for a loop because you don't get to the menu until you get through that first stage.
Yeah.
Throws you right in the snow.
Yes, I was like, what is wrong? I got one, my first copy, like a year or two ago, and I remember sitting here turning it off, turning it on, cleaning it. I'm like, what's going on? It's throwing me right into a level. Where's the menu so I can figure out what's
Yeah.
Oh, then I finally played. I was like, oh wow, yeah. But yeah, Genesis, it was that time was just great because they were button heads that made them do things and try things. And Sega just they liked to try different things.
They had better marketing, Owaz, and you know what? The marketing was so good. Nintendo tried to copy it, and then they did Play It Loud. Play It Loud is a ripoff of everything Sega was doing with marketing. That's just Nintendo copying. Remember them shaming Nintendo with they were saying how slow the Mario Kart looked on Super Nintendo. They had that like little go-kart and they made it like kind of crap
processing.
They were mocking Nintendo bad in some of those ads. And that's when they started doing the Play It Loud campaign with all the different colored Game Boys and because Nintendo was never like that, like just and then trying to do the Attitude Era stuff,
Yeah. Well, the Genesis or Sega, you could say, was a little bit more hip. They were trying to push.
They were
push
marketing to a
stuff.
generation. Yeah.
Yeah, and they weren't. The thing is, they weren't afraid to invest a bunch of money into something. Whereas I guess Nintendo's always played it safer, which might be why Nintendo's still making consoles and Sega isn't. But among a lot of just bad decisions.
Do you remember like how much Nintendo tried to push it towards the end? Like I remember when they had Yoshi's Island. Remember the fat guy eating the pasta and there's just sauce all over his face? I don't know if you remember some of these commercials. I mean, obviously, I'm sorry if I'm talking so much commercial stuff. It's just, that's what my channel is. But it's like, that just shows you how far they went. They got like this, this fat guy just gorging himself on pasta. And just his face, like it just looks disgusting. And a year or two before that, like Nintendo would have never put out ads like that, but they were just trying to compete.
Well, and it was became this whole thing where it wasn't just Nintendo of Japan and Sega of Japan. It was the American companies that were competing against each other. And a lot of times, like they would get in trouble for some of these ads and things that they would do. But you think about like the RPG market, Super Nintendo hands down had the best RPGs. You had, with Sega, you had like these really cool obscure games that were just like they were very visual pleasing. The sound chip was great. Like Musha. Like I never knew about this game until years later. I was like, oh my God, why didn't I know about this game? It's a freaking combat game.
Truxton?
No, well, Truxton, yeah, Truxton's good too.
What's the really good ones? Like, there's like a couple of them.
Thunder Force 2 and 3, I think, were really good. You're thinking of like what else? Zero Wing is good, and that one has the freaking that intro that has all the bad dialogue that gave us all your base are belong to us.
There's one like shoot 'em up though that there's like it's like 3 and 4. Is it like Thunder?
Yeah, it's Thunder Force. Yeah.
Okay. Did you say that one? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That one's really good.
I mean, you had some pretty decent, cool beat 'em ups. I mean, besides Streets of Rage, you had like E-SWAT was cool, being able to like play a cop and then get a mech suit and just beat the crap out of guys. There was, I know, Two Crude Dudes. I enjoyed that just because it was a post-apocalyptic, but I know people pan that one.
Yeah,
there's tons of
they
stuff.
also just had a bunch of the arcade games that they brought
Shinobi,
over, especially early on. They weren't exactly the best. Like this past when we went out to Texas for the Eclipse and to see my brother, we went to the video game museum, and so I played and saw for the first time Michael Jackson Moonwalker arcade machine, And I was like, this is nothing like it is on the Genesis or the Master
Yeah,
System.
totally different games.
Totally different.
But it's like, okay, so they'll switch stuff around, and it's
No, I mean there was other stuff too. Like you had tons of stuff towards the end of the Super Nintendo that were just bangers that were just outdoing Sega 100%. But then you had the Sega CD that brought in a whole other level of stuff, and I really enjoyed the Sega CD.
Yeah.
Had like Snatcher, but I didn't play Snatcher at the time. But
Final
Rise of the
Fight.
Dragon, you had Final Fight CD,
The Batman game.
Batman game, the Terminator game.
Wasn't Lunar Silver Star on Sega CD?
Mm-hmm. Yep, both of them. Yeah. Um,
I know you and me were the only two that played it, Vince, but still, it was a great game.
Was, yeah. But see, the thing is like this is kind of, if you think about it, we're talking about Sega versus Nintendo right now, and this is kind of where the gatekeeping started. You think about the fact that it's the console wars, people like complaining about or
Oh yeah,
wanting to
like hating
prove.
on Xbox or hating on some that shit is so lame, dude. That still goes on, and we're grown men. Oh, this Xbox sucks. Oh, this whatever, dude. You're a clown.
Right.
Anybody who says that, you're a clown. If you're gonna hate on one system or the other, because they're all gonna have great exclusive games, so you're stupid for saying it.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And-
we have
I don't-
disposable income. It's like we're not at home where our parents only bought us one system and we're having to justify either if we feel our system is really good or crappy to our friends so they can go get that system too, and they can be on your team whenever the guys that you don't like are pro
Yep.
Nintendo or pro Sega.
Yeah, dude. The people that fight about that kind of stuff on Twitter, they embarrass me. They embarrass gamers as an industry. That's an embarrassment to the gaming industry. People that hate on somebody based on what console they're playing, and console shame and gatekeep. They're an embarrassment as a gamer.
And I think that attitude is largely what enables gaming companies to get away with all the things they get away with these days. Because if we weren't so busy fighting ourselves over the console wars and petty arguments that really don't matter, maybe we'd be more critical of the shameful state in which most modern games are released, and we would vote with our wallets and stop buying them until there's better quality control.
Yeah.
And these companies actually produce games that we want to play. That's why Stellar Blade became such a big issue in the news. It's because we're finally getting a game that we actually want to play.
Taking risk. That's
like,
taking risk.
And it
being
offends
different
all
and
these
unique.
people. All these people are offended by it, but they're not even gamers. So who cares what they think?
Well,
why is it? It shouldn't even be news.
companies are forgetting that they're producing a product to be consumed by people that want that product. And when you lose sight of that and you start listening to this group up here who's just loud and noisy, as opposed to the people that actually are looking forward to playing, buying, using whatever said product, you've kind of lost sight of what's important in your company's focus, because you're particularly in gaming, you're producing something for people to consume and play. But if you don't produce something good, no one's going to want to play it. But then when you come out and attack people because they don't want to play your game, calling them whatever you want under the sun, not realizing we made absolute garbage because we listened to this group over here who has nothing to do with actually consuming our product that we make. It's
Yep. And it's like, why would they expect anything else to happen?
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
Well,
this is basic logic. Of course, it was going to go down like that.
So the biggest example is, unfortunately, I'm going to bring this up, Brian, but it's Star Wars. Star Wars had almost 30 years of great content up until Disney purchased them. They started trying to do things that didn't fit and align with their established base of people that are willing to just throw money at them because it's Star Wars. And you instead of like trying to make content for them, but then doing it in a way that includes new audiences, no, we want to include the new audience and shit all over, or crap all over the people that are been giving us money for the last three generations. And you can't run a business that way. That's the best way to like completely end your company or support loyal support. And it's sad because we fractured because of Star Wars. You have people that just would love Star Wars no matter what, even if it's just Star Wars coming out. It's like as long as Star Wars is coming out, I'm going to support it. It's like no, you can't just like have them give you a box of stuff that is filled with cat shit, but it says Star Wars on the box and you're just eating it up like cereal. No, it's not Star Wars. So come on, understand that you can't just sell yourself out for what you love. Be passionate, be vocal,
Yep.
speak with your
And-
wallet.
Just
And-
because it has that label on it doesn't mean it's going to be good.
Correct.
Right.
Doesn't mean that you need to go out and buy it. You know, it's you can wait to see what they've actually made. I mean, I went and I saw 7, 8, and 9 in the theater.
Mhm.
I think I've watched 7 again. I don't think I've watched 8 or 9 again. I don't care to go back and watch them. You know, and it's sad. I would prefer to watch the prequels than I would the sequels. If I had to watch one or other of those, I think the prequels after the sequels, it's like, you know what? Those aren't that bad, especially if you watch
The definition.
speed and it goes through it a little bit quicker.
That's the definition of failure right there, what you just said. I would rather watch the prequels than the sequels. Like as an old school like Star Wars fan, I would have never thought movies could be that bad in this franchise, but you're absolutely right.
Yep.
I would absolutely rather watch the prequels than the sequels, and I would have never dreamed that I would utter that phrase about this franchise, but Disney found a way.
When you
But they're
lose
doing it with
focus
everything.
of your group.
Yeah. And they're doing it with everything. Like Indiana
Yeah.
Jones is gone.
Yep.
Marvel's on its way out. It's like everything they're touching because they want to hire people that don't want to tell stories, but want to tell agendas to force people into something, which is gatekeeping, you know?
Yeah.
It's like movies were for escape. Video games were for escaping. They're supposed to be fun. They don't have to have a message. But that's
Yeah.
not what the ideology of everybody is now. It's like, uh, if it doesn't have these check boxes and everything else, you're not force fed what they want, then
I think
yeah.
I think they are forgetting that movies, games, comics, books, a lot of that type of media, we are going to escape from a lot of the stuff that we have to deal with in our day-to-day lives. It's nice to be able to relax and just sit back and enjoy, you know, watching something, reading something, listening to something that you can enjoy and not have the stuff just force fed down your throat. The thing is, if you want to tell a story, tell it well. And I think that's the biggest problem. If the stories were good, nobody would care. But the stories aren't good. They're a lot of times it feels like they're cut and pasted together. They take out huge chunks of stuff, and so things just don't follow.
It's not organic.
Yeah,
Right.
and going to a Marvel thing, Thor: Love and Thunder. Like I'm one who, when I start something, I've got to finish watching it. There was an episode of The Outer Limits. The dude has some life form from Mars. That thing, it took me 20 years to see the second episode, but I saw the first one on TV when it was broadcast, and I could not, and it took me 20 years, but I had to finish it. Thor: Love and Thunder took me 2 weeks to finish. It should have taken me a day. I couldn't even get through it. Quantumania, I didn't finish watching at all. I was just like, I don't care. I don't care. There's nothing in here that's letting me escape, that's pulling me in. And it's the same thing with a lot of games. Like most modern games, I'm like, I don't care. There's nothing that they're offering me that I can't get in a better position. You know, I've got retro games that I can pull out and play. I don't have to wait for an update on the console. I don't have to wait for an update for the game. I don't have to wait for an update for the controller. Why are our controllers having to be updated? And then you don't have to worry about stick drift.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's just give me a good story. Give me good gameplay. Make it enjoyable. Let me skip cutscenes in my games, please. especially if it's right before a boss fight and it's the 20th time I had to fight him. Let me just get right back to the boss fight. But give me something that I can enjoy, not something that's going to be a dredge trying to get through. Metroid Prime, sorry, not Metroid Prime, Metroid Dread. I wanted to pick up day one because I like the Metroid series. I didn't. I ended up, if I don't get a game within 2 weeks, it'll be years before I pick it up, most likely. It's some weird thing with me. But Metroid Dread, when I finally got it, I got it used. I got it for $40. Loved it. Thought the story was great. Thought the gameplay was great. I played through it on all the difficulties. But it was a good story. It was enjoyable gameplay. That's what as gamers, that's what we want.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're looking at like toy collecting and Lego and that kind of stuff, then you get to pretty much tell your own story with that stuff. You can tell whatever story you want with the characters. Because when you look at, when I look at Grimlock, I go back and I think, me, Grimlock King, want too much metal, and it's just what draws you in, good gameplay, good memories. Because I think, part of the collecting thing we touched on is nostalgia, is going back and filling in those gaps and just having that good time of when you were younger, things were a lot simpler, and you could escape even then. But now you're using that escape from then to escape from even more just garbage today. And that's my ramble.
Well,
I mean, we get some cool games once in a while. Like I thought, Stray. Now I know I'm just like a cat lover, but that was interesting. That game, and you notice that when we do get the unique games, people really do applaud and they voice it, and it's like, so I don't know why we don't get more, because people do voice that they really like that stuff's different, and that it's not going to just fall into that like racing, fighting, RPG only category or FPS. Because we do have a limited amount of categories that they seem to want to fucking make, man. And
Right.
we're going to be in denial if we don't admit that if it doesn't fall into these couple of baskets that it needs to fall into, they're not going to risk it. I mean, just look at, we like to play them for a while because they're easy for everybody to jump on, but just look at like the ass load of kart racers, right? I mean, because they know that bucket sells, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to get up the ass kart racers to the point of like, there's ones that are like hilarious, like a Hello Kitty kart racer, a Garfield kart racer, like a Race with Ryan kart racer that we always make a joke about because it has my name in it. But that game looks like an embarrassment. I mean, a toddler kart racer. I don't know why anybody want to play that other than a toddler. But that's kind of my point. Like, because they only want to sell in these certain baskets, they're so limited. But even when you're appeasing just those few categories that they know will sell, it's going to get so stale because people will get sick of that shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like music. When you just do one genre, it does die out eventually. If you don't have enough variety, that's why music's always going to evolve over time. Because people are going to get sick of the same shit.
I don't know, because I just think about sports games.
Oh.
I'm not a big sports game fan. I picked one up.
Yeah, either am I.
Madden 94 and then NFL 2K or 2K1 on the Dreamcast. Like those are the last big ones that I've played.
I like NBA Jam.
Yeah,
that's about it.
That's our arcade style. But if you think about it, how many versions of Madden have there been, and people eat it up? They're happily willing to pay
I think those
$60.
Maddens are for goons. Like those are the guys that were in frats and did keg stands and are misogynist to women. I don't know. That's just a hot take. I just think a lot of these guys are goons that play Madden. I'm sorry. There may be Madden guys out there that are very intellectual and diverse and read leather-bound books, as Ron Burgundy would say. But I just think they're few and far between.
But now you're gatekeeping, Ryan. You're gatekeeping the guys who want to collect Madden and sports games.
I was about to say.
Do we know anybody that just gets Madden every year? Because I don't even know one. I couldn't tell you
Well,
one.
I have a friend that gets Madden, but that's not the only game he gets. But he does play competitively. I mean, he plays first-person shooters. He's big in this. He's a big nerd, but he enjoys football. That's one of the things he
Yeah.
had with his dad. So it's just something they have. But I'm not a. I hate football. I don't watch it. I like maybe the Astros for baseball, maybe the Rockets for basketball, but like the only sports game I ever really kind of played was
Mutant League football.
besides Tony Hawk.
Yeah, those were fun.
Probably
How
one of
about some blitzball?
the dude. If I'm telling you, Square. Look, I'm looking at the camera right now. Square, just make a dedicated blitzball sports game from Final Fantasy X.
Hell yeah.
I would be there day one. Make it online. Let's go. Anyway, but
What
no,
would you
keep me
call it
alive.
though? Like when somebody just gets like they only play Madden. Like it's like an extreme casual gamer, right? Like they're just a guy that's like they're more into sports. They're not really into gaming. They just want to get that one Madden and then they're good. Would you call that like extreme casual? Like what would we call that?
Well, I think actually calling people casual and hardcore gamers, I think is a misnomer. I think it's
Yes.
kind of silly. Can't we all just be gamers? And some people
We're
like their
yeah.
sports games. Some people like their
Well,
merge
to be
games.
fair though, Oz, you went down the street and you said like we're talking about how you don't get sports games, right?
Yeah.
So we're trying to keep it down this lane. Yeah, we don't want to pigeonhole them, but at the same time you're saying that this is a percentage of people that you don't really get that. So how else do we describe it?
They're sports gamers. They're
I would.
gamers who like sports games. Like we're like, because we could do that with all of us. Like, okay, I'm a gamer who used to like RPGs but doesn't have the time for them now.
Yeah.
But I like retro games. I'm a gamer who likes retro or classic or vintage gaming, however we're going to define it. I'm a gamer who likes, oftentimes these days, are indie games, but I like Metroid. I like Sonic. I like Donkey Kong. But I don't think we need to like this. These people are casual because they play this way or they only play. And if we're talking about number of hours played, I would probably be in the casual gamer because I don't have a ton of time to play anymore.
Mhm.
But they're just gamers that like sports, and you know what? That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't understand it because I mean, you're somehow, like you said, you'd think that it would get stale. You're playing the same game. The only thing that changes is maybe a little bit more shininess with every version and the names on the back of the jerseys. And I'm not trying to offend anybody saying that.
They
It's
probably
just,
like to play the fantasy league too because they keep
yeah,
up with the rosters a lot. Those
yeah,
kind of guys.
and that's just their bag. And I don't
Yeah.
that
Well,
there's anything
I guess
wrong
I'm
with it.
in agreement that anybody that plays a game is a gamer. I'm in agreement with that part. But they do have business wise, they're catering to somebody that either buys a lot of games or doesn't. Like some people that get Xbox Game Pass, they don't want to own games, and I get that too. Like, see what I'm saying? So there are you do have to put some kind of label on what different things are because that's how they sell to these people. Whether we agree with the terms or not,
Yeah.
this is a
Well,
business.
right.
Well,
From
they
a
market
marketing standpoint, from what you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, they can label us, but why do we need to label each other? This is what I think I'm trying to say.
I
Because
get that.
we're
I
all
can see
gamers.
it.
Go ahead,
Go
Wubs.
ahead. I was just gonna say I can see like why it's kind of nice to know what each other like, and like, oh, if you play shooters or you play RPGs or whatever, like, because then we know, like, then you can just ask like, oh well, yeah, what are your favorites or whatever, or what do you like to play, and there's probably some overlap there. You could find common ground, right? Because one of my friends growing up was a big sports fan. His dad was really into sports. They went to hockey games all the time, baseball games, stuff like that. I would go with them every now and then with my dad, or family friends and stuff, and I enjoyed it, but I was never like super into it like my friend was. And so he would play a lot of sports video games too. So when I went over to his house, I would play, Gretzky 98 and just other sports games I don't even remember the names of now. I would have never played those games otherwise if I didn't have that friend. And I think that it's kind of cool because now looking back on that, it's like that's a unique memory that I have with him kind of exclusively because I really haven't played sports games with anybody else since then, and I don't collect them myself. But I wouldn't even call him a sports gamer because we would play GoldenEye and Test Drive and Twisted Metal and things like that too, right? But he was definitely more into sports games than anything else. But we had so much overlap and we liked a lot of the same games. He was actually able to introduce me to sports games, and I just think that's pretty cool. Sorry, I know that's a little off topic, but that's
No, I
just
mean,
what this conversation made me think of.
it really goes into the same thing because I mean, you look at like just how fragmented we are on YouTube and stuff, and it's like everybody likes whatever. We're all gamers, you know. Some people just like to play retro games, but then you can feel shunned because maybe you just don't stream retro games, so you're not a retro streamer, so you can't be part of the cool kids. And it's like that's ridiculous. We're all gamers. Let's just have fun.
I was in a game store once. I got the perfect example for kind of what we're talking about. I was in a game store once. This guy came in and he was just brutally honest, like talking to the employee with what he wanted. And he's basically just saying, like, this guy definitely blazed. And he was saying, I want to get just a bunch of games that I don't really have to think when I play them and just kick back after work and have a beer. Like, I'm like, oh, God, I wish there was more guys like this that would just say that. Like, just be honest. He's like, he's fine not even being like into gaming that much. He's like coming in and saying, I don't really game much. This is just some shit I want to do after work and I want to blow off some steam and I want to have a beer and maybe blaze. That's what he wants to do. And it's like, I totally respect that as much as I respect like us like being super into collecting and all this stuff. I respect the other extreme because it's like this guy knows what he is. He knows that's all he wants from it. He doesn't want to get the latest and greatest. And he was specifically trying to find those maybe $5-10 clearance games that'll still be fun, but he can just blow some steam up. I love that. Like I wish there was that honesty with some guys because I'm sure when you go in GameStop, it's very uptight in there, and they want to get you on these stupid fucking pro plans and all these jerk off plans they got in there. And it's like some of these people just want to come in there one time, get a few games, and just leave me alone. And I see it because I see the posture of some people that come into GameStop, and they don't want to hear all that baloney. And you're trying to get them to pre-order everything that's coming out because they don't care.
It really depends on the person, the clerk at the store. Because like the GameStop I go to that's right by my house, me and him will talk about RPGs and all that stuff. He asked me, hey, what are you looking for? And blah, blah, blah. He's very helpful. He doesn't push anything on me. And I've been in the store when he's helping other customers. He's that way. And it's like, that's how I would work when I used to work at Game Crazy. It's like, build this rapport with somebody, learn what they like. Then you can help, usher them into some new game that they may have never played before, but you sell it to them. They think it's cool. And then they come back because they had an enjoyable experience with interacting with you, plus the game, because you got to know who you're selling to and be.
But like the comic book shop guy from Simpsons, that's got to be standoffish. That kind of like employee that there is a lot of that at the game stores and comic book stores, because it's like when you get casual people in there coming through, or like a girl or like a young kid, and they don't know shit about stuff. And they got to come in there and everybody's talking in there like they're that scene in Good Will Hunting when it's the guys in the bar and they're too cool for school, right? And Ben Affleck and Matt Damon go there and school them because they end up knowing more than the wannabe intellectuals anyways, right? So it's like sometimes these stores have that kind of a personality to them.
And that is a store that I'll never come back to.
Not everybody's a gaming expert or a comic expert that comes into these stores.
No, I know that 100%.
They shouldn't have to be.
They shouldn't have to be.
Need to be.
Exactly. What's the point of having the clerk, right? If they're
not doing their job.
Otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I get it. Some people do a job because it's provides them money, but it's like when you're in that particular market, whether it be a comic book shop, Best Buy, you're particular over a specific area, You want to know what you have so you can sell better to somebody. And, you want to have that enjoyable experience. Like, I don't know how many times it'd be cool walking into a comic book store and like the guys are talking about something and being able to go and talk and join in the conversation versus like you may join in the conversations like, who are you? What do you want? You have two different
But they do that
interactions.
in the music stores too. Like
Yeah.
somebody, they're playing like art house indie rock, and some guy's coming in to get Hanson in the 90s. And like that guy's going to be embarrassed to bring that Hanson to the counter, and they shouldn't be. Let them get their Hanson and love it. Let them get down to some bop,
Are we talking about what was it, High Fidelity here?
Yeah, that's
exactly
what I was thinking of, was High Fidelity. Exactly.
Yeah, Jack Black nailed that role of like that kind of guy.
Right. That sort of elitist, I know so much more about music than you do, and
remember
he just looked down on all the customers.
He refused to sell the guy the album he wanted, right? He's like, no, I'm not selling.
Yeah,
I'm not selling you this.
Right.
No,
it was. I just called to say I love you by Stevie Wonder. He wouldn't sell the guy the album. Yeah.
The funny thing is, I literally, when I worked at Best Buy, I had a friend that was that guy. It was like too hip to do this. So no, you're not going to like this. You need to do this. But how I first met him was like, we were having me and my coworker were having a conversation, and we were talking about Star Wars, and we were talking about how like KOTOR, it's cool to have like when KOTOR 2 came out, it was cool to have like a level that wasn't the generic Hoth level or the generic, Tatooine level in a game. But we didn't say it like actually name it. We're just talking about like the ice level in this. He goes, like Hoth, dude. And then we just was like, you want a job? I was like, because we ended up like talking with him and he just felt like he was great for the thing. But that's basically what it is. It's like when I worked with him, he was that dude. Like, you won't like this. You should try this. Or we don't have this in the back kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we're talking about gatekeeping, right? When it gets the ugliest? The emulation versus non-emulation. That's when our community fucking mind.
You should have real hardware, or you're not a real collector, or you're not a real gamer.
That's when they lose their mind. That's when they lose their shit. People in our community. And they fight.
It's so ridiculous.
They fight to the death on that shit. And it's and like most of us, like I'm a guy that completely does both. I have tons of original hardware. I have EverDrives. I have Pis. I'll game on whatever, and I don't care. But they get so heated on that stuff. They get so heated about arcade one-ups versus the real stuff. Man, who cares? Just play the game.
You would think that these guys get a back pay, from the corporations because of the fact of how much they push legitimate hardware, 20-year-old or 30-year-old hardware that the company's not going to get any residuals from. They've already gotten it. It's like, why are you doing that? I mean, like, it's so stupid on the fact that, like, not everybody has the disposable income or in the same position to be able to buy what you can, right? So it's like, look, I'm an advocate of play the way you want to play, have fun, because that's what games are for. If you want to play with your friends, go for it. Find any way you can, because that's the point. It's not about, oh God, I have this, the original, even though it's not an original. This is the re-release that came out a couple years ago. It's like, yes, and this is the only way to play this game. It's like, get the hell out of here, man. Like, get out of my store.
Right. I really appreciate the YouTubers out there that will do the in-depth reviews of different versions of games and compare them on different hardware, different releases, things like that. Because I'm a nerd and I like to know like the numbers on things. But yeah, I absolutely agree. Like, you should just play it anywhere you can. And from the perspective of like a creator, I like to think that any of those guys that actually came up with the ideas for the games and programmed the games and all of that stuff 30 years ago, 40 years ago, whenever they were releasing that older retro stuff, I like to think that those guys would probably really appreciate young kids now playing the games they made, whether they emulated them or got physical copies or whatever. I think they'd probably just be really happy that kids wanted to play their games still. I don't think it would be a greed corporate thing, at least for those older guys. At least I like to think that.
Yeah, they were doing it
Now the
for fun.
corporations, the CEOs, the board members at the
Corporations
major
that own
gaming
this stuff.
companies, yeah, they're the ones that really care, right? But the actual creators, the actual brilliant people that make the games we love, I don't think they care at all. I think that they'd be like musicians. They'd probably be like, "Wow, I'm just glad somebody really likes my music." Isn't that cool? I had such an impact on the world,
Not
through
Metallica.
my talent and creativity.
Well, I mean, they were basically like, "Hey, I'm having fun and doing a job." And what do you
Yeah.
mean people are still buying this stuff and playing this stuff 20 and 30 years later? Especially when it's like, all right, we actually have constraints that we have to code in, so we can't just throw in everything we want because we can update it and add it in DLC. Most of them were probably just doing it for a job, and half of them probably don't even remember most of what they had done at the time because it's been so long ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And yeah, they're just happy people are playing it. But back with the gatekeeping, like I held up my Mark III. Not everyone should have to have a Mark III to play Mark III games. I mean, there's other ways of doing it, but not everybody wants to have a Mark III
Mm-hmm.
or a Sega SG-1000, and that's okay. I think they're great systems. I think they're really fun to collect for. There's some really neat games for them, but I'd much rather people experience the games than worry about trying to find a console and then to find the games, because those were released mostly in Japan.
Mhm.
So here in the States they're hard to come by. I've gotten everything either through eBay or through Yahoo Japan, and it's just, why do we have to make it about, unless you have X, Y, or Z, you're like I said, you're not a collector, you're not a true gamer, or you're whatever adjective you want to throw in there.
You live in your mom's basement. So it's kind of nonsense. Yeah, it's like,
You're a basement dweller, and yeah, like
Mhm.
play games how you want, when you want,
Mhm.
where you want, why you want, and what you want, but have fun. And that's like DLP said, the thing to do is to have fun. And I've had fun collecting this stuff and learning about it, and because I didn't have a Master System growing up, I didn't know anyone who had a Master System growing up, and I sure as heck didn't know anything about the Sega Mark III and the SG-1000 or the SC-3000, and why Sega made the SG-1000, because they found out about Nintendo making the Famicom. It's been a cool journey for me, learning about all of this stuff, and then trying to get a hold of it.
You're making me think of, playing games how you want, where you want, all that. Made me think of people that just play mobile games,
Mhm.
who that's another area where I feel like we commonly, or at least people in the community will commonly look down upon them. It's like,
Don't you
oh,
have
well,
a phone?
yeah, right. I mean, don't we all have phones? And it's kind of like there's some great mobile games. I get that, older gamers or whatever, like you kind of you'd rather have those devs probably working on, console games or PC games instead. But, does it really matter? I mean, a phone's just a really powerful portable gaming device,
Mhm.
really. I mean, it does a lot of other stuff, but it's also just a really great
This is more powerful
handheld.
than the computer I had when I was playing Command and Conquer back in like '98. I mean,
Oh, my phone's more powerful than any computer I've had other than my current computer.
right?
you know?
Yeah.
Probably if you have a
Uh,
fairly recent phone.
yeah, right. So it's like, why all the hate about that? I get how part of it is like they just resent all the microtransactions that so many mobile games will implement. I totally understand that. I'm very anti microtransactions myself, but there's plenty of mobile games that don't have microtransactions, or even if they do, you certainly don't have to buy them to play the
Mhm.
game.
Hmm.
So who cares?
Yeah, a lot of them are, you can either pay with your money or you can pay with more time.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
Watch
decide
an
which one you
ad.
want
You
to
want,
do.
right.
yeah.
If you want to lengthen out
Eh,
the experience, don't pay for any of the DLC or the that term for microtransactions.
Microtransaction.
Yeah,
Yeah, don't pay for the microtransactions, and it'll take you longer to do stuff.
yeah.
But
You get more value out of the game.
Yep.
Really?
Yep. It'll take you longer to get there, or at any point you're just like, boop, here, hold your finger there, uninstall, I'm done. Yay!
Yeah.
Moving
Yep.
on.
That's it. And I don't know. I just think if someone had, if someone has Tetris, like just a bootleg copy of Tetris or a legal copy of Tetris on a phone, and that's literally the only game they play ever, they're still a gamer.
Yeah.
If you play
You
a
know?
game, you're a gamer. I mean, even like
Yeah.
you play board games, card games, like, that still classifies as a gamer. Just because it's not electronic doesn't mean it's not as good or
Right.
better, But
I mean,
I still
Nintendo started out as a card game company,
yeah,
right? If I'm not mistaken.
they did.
So, yeah, of course. That's where all this stuff has its origins and roots in is non-digital gaming.
hmm When you think of like, there's even that too, the whole emulation versus physical media and how it's frowned upon. And it's like, why? I mean, if someone can't afford something, just let them be able to play what they want. And if they want to
Mm,
stream it, let them stream it. Don't knock them because, maybe they're less fortunate than you, or maybe they have other responsibilities. You don't know what somebody's dealing with in their life. They may be paying for the medical bills for their parent or something, or their kid, and the only way they
yep.
can game is by emulation. I mean, like, one of my friends on the podcast, and I won't say who, not here right now, but whenever he was in between jobs and stuff, like right after he had his first son, he modded his Xbox and was buying games that way, just because of the fact that that's what he could afford.
Yep. He still had to buy the hardware. He
Yeah,
still had
so I
to
had to buy the
acquire
hardware.
the,
Hmm
I mean, it's not like they're not participating in the economy at all, you know. It's and the Xbox is such a good system for modding. Even the Series S now is like an emulation powerhouse. All the things it can do.
hmm
And this is the thing that still just kills me, like particularly with what Nintendo did recently, trying to shut down all the Discord servers that were involved in emulation or whatever. It's a really bad look, in my opinion. As far as like PR goes with gamers, I would think at least a lot of gamers, if not most gamers, would look at that and just kind of laugh, you know,
Yeah.
at how ridiculous it is that a major gaming corporation would bully
Master
this
scenario.
this tiny company over something so insignificant that really isn't, if we're being really honest, it's really not costing them any money at all. Basically all it was free advertising for their games. And a lot of these games that are being played in those spaces, Nintendo should be damn grateful people still want to play them, frankly, because
You're not going to
God
stop
knows
them either.
we could be playing all kinds of stuff, and we don't have to play their games. So,
They're, they're just slowing. They're trying to slow the leak.
yeah.
There,
But
They're not. They're not
but
going to
by
stop
doing
it.
that, I feel like it's gonna backfire because it's all this negative press, and people like me are gonna look at that and say like, "Wow, Nintendo, you're just throwing your weight around, and you look ridiculous doing it. Like
I
it's
don't.
ridiculous that this even got your attention with how
They
big you
always
are and
look.
how much you
They always
dominate the
look
space."
greedy.
I
They
don't think
always look
Nintendo
greedy as fuck
cares.
compared to Sony and
Honestly, I
Xbox.
agree with Owaz. I don't honestly, I think it's a very small, minute people that actually really care. It is because we're looking at the fact that gaming is still a niche. It's not so widespread as it should be, because certain people live in areas where they don't have the disposable income to buy a console or anything like that, or maybe they don't have the internet, so they can't play. Um, the general consumer, that's why we have guys that will go out there and they'll go and buy the newest console that just released and throw it up for 600, $700 on eBay. And mom and pop's like, I can't find it in store. I'm going to go drop this because I'm going to be the coolest mom for my child. It's a lot of people don't care.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, look at while you were talking, I was thinking, okay, look at Nintendo and look at Disney. Nintendo's protecting their IP very aggressively, so they're making it so that it's harder for people to even think about wanting to get into doing that. But they make good content that people want. Disney no longer makes stuff that people want. Nintendo is very profitable. And I mean, I hate Nintendo re-releasing games. Super Mario RPG, $60. Why in the world are people paying that? And so this might be my own form of gatekeeping. I'm going to say it right here. I do not think it's worth $60. It's a game that was already made. How much time and effort needs to be put into it for them to redo everything? I wouldn't think it'd be the same as what it was even originally. So why isn't it a budget title? Metroid Prime Remaster. I was so excited when I saw that was coming out. I was like, $40 for the 3 Prime titles? I am there. Day one. Oh wait.
Only one.
It's $40 and it's only one. I'll buy it when I can find it for $20 or less.
Yep.
And if I can never find it for that price, I will never own that game. And
I made the same choice. I made the same choice on that.
You were my hero for the next 10 minutes, Wubs. Because a big problem is us. A lot of the stuff that we complain about is us. And I'm saying us as collectors.
Yeah.
Right. Well, people will pay for ridiculous things.
Sorry, what'd you say?
Oh, I was just saying, along with what you're saying, people will pay for ridiculous things. It is ridiculous to pay $40 for a GameCube game in 2023 or whenever it came out. I'm sorry, but it's ridiculous. It's a joke. You know, like I am insulted as a consumer that is even what is being presented to me, and people are attempting to sell that to me. You know, I'm not saying it's not a great game. Obviously, it's a great game. I'm not trying to take anything away from Metroid Prime. I'm just saying, going onto your computer and hitting copy paste from a GameCube folder into a Nintendo Switch folder, and then hitting the printing press on all the cartridges. I'm sorry, but that's not worth $40. You know, it's just not.
Yeah.
And I'm with you there. Maybe this is my form of gatekeeping. If people want to pay for it, fine, cool, whatever. It's not going to be me though.
Oh, there's a difference between bad business practices and bad consumerism and gatekeeping.
Yeah,
there's a big difference.
Right.
But you're right, because a lot of times, even like, there's no reason that a physical game should be the same price as a digital game.
Yes.
When you're not having to pay for the production of the case, the actual physical media, the paper, the advertising that goes around it and everything.
The shipping.
Just pushing a button and switching it out. Yeah, the shipping.
So how much more would you be willing to pay for physical copies? Because they're not going to lower the price of the digital copy. That's not going to happen. So are you willing to pay $10, $20, $30 more for a physical copy?
Well, they're not going to, but they should. They'd move more units. They're stupid.
Well,
right. No, totally, 100% agree.
You pay $100.
Sometimes greed is stupid. They lose more in the long run. They would sell more at a slight discount, even if you drop it just $10 less. They would sell. They would more units.
So you're okay paying $60 for digital and $70 for physical?
No, it should be 60.
That's not. But that's not what they're going to do.
I know
you're already paying $60 for games.
Right.
So are you willing to pay $70 for physical?
See, well, here's my thing with that. I'm probably a bad person to reply to this, but I don't buy anything until it's like $20, or $30. Like 30 max. Like I'll do 30 for certain Switch titles, only certain Switch titles though. And it's just because I know I'm never going to get them for less, right? Like that's the only time I'll do that. Yeah. And, so in my opinion, games are so incredibly overpriced at launch for the state that they're in general. Mm-hmm. And the fact that half of what we get now is what I just said. It's copy paste. Ooh, it's an HD remaster, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Don't care. it's basically copy paste, and you're selling me the same game.
Well,
Like
it depends if it's the difference is though is that if and I say this if because we're getting the Suikoden 1 and 2 remaster. And they're actually going
right,
through changing some of the effects, redoing the music. They're doing a remaster of it. It's not just a re-release
sure,
on a disc.
it's
But
not just an HD upscale type
there's
thing,
no other way unless you get a physical copy of the original two games that you can play this. I'm
right?
okay with them re-releasing something, but yes, I do believe that certain things should not be that is a remake of something. Well, no, I take that back. I can't say remake, but a re-release on a
Yeah,
newer console should be more than $30, or if it's got
yeah,
more than one game, I may be willing to like the Metal Gear collection. That game came out cheaper than most releases, but still it has like 5 games on there, plus the digital books and some other additional content. So yeah, I'm getting a bigger package. But then again, it doesn't have everything in there. I mean, I'd be willing
yeah.
to
That
drop a
was my
hundred
issue with
dollars.
that release. I
Yeah.
wanted to buy that one, Vince, and I didn't
Hmm.
because I resented the fact that it just was incomplete. And also the fact that they had the Metal Gear comic books
Yep.
that came out that I totally missed, and now they're like stupid expensive to get. If you want to buy those physically on eBay, like they're so rare, like it would cost hundreds of dollars to get those books. I was like, this was the perfect opportunity for Konami to release those, in the as part of this collection. They should have had the whole Metal Gear Solid comic book series on there. If they had done that, I actually probably would have been there day one on
Hmm.
that release. But the fact that they chose not to, and just sort of nickel and dime us on it, and it's incomplete, I was like, no, I'm not buying this. I might pick it up when it's $10, maybe 20, but that's it. I'm not going to pay more than that for that one.
I think there's
And
far too
I'm a
few of
huge
us.
Metal Gear fan. I love Metal Gear Solid, and I'm saying that about that release, you know.
Yeah, and I think there's far too few of us that are willing to take that stance, though.
Right.
Like the
Yep.
the Sonic Origins that was released, it was like, why are they including all the games except for these and these? Well, they did the plus, but the plus is they're not on here. It's a digital code
Digital code.
to
Yeah.
get the Game Gear
Yep.
titles. And it's like, well, why didn't they include the Master System titles? Um, but I waited and I got that for, I think it was $20 because
See,
sometimes
that's
it's just not
reasonable,
worth it. Yeah,
right? But doing it the way you did, that's okay. Like I could see $20 for that.
yeah,
Or
and
you
I
get, you know.
I think it's actually, you know, there's 16 games on here, plus I guess it's plus the 12
Yeah. So I think it's
or the 12
60
Game Gear titles and the 4 games. I
Right.
don't know,
4 games. Yeah.
but I mean the Halo Master Chief Collection. How many games were included in that?
I think it's
Everything.
5, right? It's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
4 or
was
5, and they've added stuff to it. And so if you paid
Yeah,
$60 for it,
Beach is
I
part of
think
it.
yeah,
right.
I think if you got the even got a physical copy, as long as you have your disc in there, it downloaded ODST
Yep.
and
Yep.
Reach.
Yep.
So great value.
Yeah. That's a good one, right? And I've seen the Master Chief Collection. I've seen that for like $10 before, like
Yeah.
digital. You can pick that up. That's a really good value for those
And
those games. I'd say like that's what I feel like they should all be though. Like any of those that are like, okay, we're packaging together a bunch of games that are most of them are more than 20 years old. Like come on, guys, this should be like 20 or $30 max. It's not like we can't emulate most of them, if not all of them. So you got to give us some reason to purchase this. I feel like
yeah.
that, beyond the fact that a bunch of us probably already have the original games, you know, like
I have them all.
why, the whole point of re-releasing a collection like this or something is like you need to add something to it that makes us want to add it to the original games we already have. If we already have those, we've already played them, right? This is the other issue I have with it because with the Metal Gear collection, some of them are all download only, right? They're not all on the disc, right?
As far as like the one that just came out, no, they're all on the
Yeah.
disc. You
Oh,
install them.
they are.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so they got that right anyway. That because
The only time
that's
the only
something.
time that happened was the Metal Gear collection on the
The
PS3.
PS3. Yeah,
That
yeah,
had
that's
the
that's what
digital
I was
code for
thinking of.
Solid
Right.
and
Yep.
VR missions.
Right, which I didn't like that even at the time, which is why I didn't pick that one up. Because I really wanted all of them on one disc.
Mm-hmm. No, I get that. And so a lot of times, a lot of the reasons why sometimes companies do this stuff is because they're trying to get funding for their bigger projects. And
Yep.
that's why we're seeing a
Yeah.
lot of games right now being outsourced to these third-party companies so they can have things changed in the games to fit whatever they want them to, and then they get funding for whatever their game is because games are getting too big. They're and it's because the fact that like they don't remember when games took years to make, like it was like think of like Grand Theft Auto 5 to 6 right now. It's been like
Yeah.
I don't know how
It's
many
been like 10 years.
10 years, yeah. And then but you look at like from 3 to Vice City, it was a couple years. It wasn't that long.
Mhm.
But in between Final
Do you
Fantasy
think part of it
releases,
though? Hold on though, because I'm glad you said that. Do you think part of it is they want to milk out the DLC and the in-game currency and the shark cards and all that stuff? Do you think part of it is like, guys, we can squeeze another 2 years out of in-game currency here out of these people,
Yep.
and with the shark, because that's what is it, like
That's the easy money.
$100 to get?
Well,
That's the
it's
easy money.
Some of the cars people want, it's like $100 in-game currency you have to spend to get some of those cars.
so Grand Theft Auto 5, they at least had it to where when you're playing online, they always added new content, and most of the time that stuff was for free. And on top of that, you think about the fact that this is running on a server that they're hosting. So any of the shark cards and stuff like that technically goes into the cost of producing the new content for online, the new heist, and running that server. Because if it's not in-house, it's at a server location.
No, but
that
what
they
I'm saying is,
they
don't you
pay
think
to.
that's kind of delaying 6 because they want to get that last batch of people that didn't have it yet to spend the money to get the in-game currency because they don't want to wait to get it for free, the items and the cars. Like they're just trying to milk out that last year or two rather than putting out 6. Like they got another year or two of money to make on 5 still.
Well, I mean, technically, they've already done that when they re-released it on from PS3 to PS4 and PS4 to PS5 or the Xbox. It's like they've already done that. So this is just maybe extra money they're getting for it. But I'm not saying that they're not. But you look at Rockstar, when they put out a game, it's quality.
Yep.
There's not a lot of bugs. There's tons of engagement, like story development, mini games. Just like you'll play this game for a couple of months as long as you
Or
do it,
longer.
or longer. Yeah, and then you got the online stuff. But it's cool because like you think about it with Rockstar, you have between 4, you had what, Red Dead Redemption, you had LA Noir. I think there was like 2 other games in between until we got 5. And then so with 5 to 6, we've only really gotten
Red Dead 2.
Every time I
RDR2.
play with Wubs, though, he just wants to go hang out in the strip club. I told him, Wubs.
Hey man, they
If
did
you
a
want-
great
I
job
mean,
in 5.
wait. How else are you gonna find hookers to put on the train tracks? I'm just saying, like, where are we supposed to go, Ryan? I mean,
He goes into the champagne room. He's like and he walks him out, throws him in the car, and drives all the way down to the train yard.
right?
Anyway, but no, I mean, I miss when games took long to development because they could find ways to help increase the production cost for whatever they're doing. A lot of times when they did DLCs for games anyway, they had additional content they may have been working on, or they had ideas that after the fact, and then they would release it, and sometimes it would be free, sometimes it would be a cost. But we got into this whole thing where a lot of times they were actually making the DLC at the same time, actually had completed it, put it on the disc, and then go a couple months later after it releases, hey, here's a new DLC. But
Yep.
the game hasn't been out that long, and people were data mining the game. It's been there the whole time. I mean, Resident Evil 5 did it, Street Fighter X Tekken did it. There's quite a few games that did this. Fighters that were
Well,
just
that's
locked.
why, Vince, I wait on the fighters, right?
Mhm.
Because I'm not like a hardcore fighting game guy, like some of you are. I know some of you are, which is cool, but like I want to do the arcade mode and I want the full roster. And also I'm not going to be competitive anyway, so there's no need for me to get it at day one or even, within a year or two of when it comes out or whatever. I wait for like the game of the year editions, full rosters for $10. And that's when I get the newer or like whatever the last fighting game is. Like I'm still waiting on Street Fighter 6 because it's too early.
Right.
They're going to be
Well,
having content drops on that thing for probably 5 years, you know,
that was the
before
cool
it
thing.
starts to get that cheap.
Right. And that's the cool thing about like five is like if you played enough, you got enough currency that you could buy the characters. It's like they incentivized you to play the game more than just playing it
Right.
casually. So that was kind of cool versus having to go and spend $30 on a season pass for characters or wait till it's on sale for
Sure.
$7 on the PSN. Um,
And that's cool. I wish they would do that with more games. I do love the idea of play more, get more. Like because I think that that's really more respectful of gamers' time, right? Or at least some gamers the gamers who really love the game, who really want to play it a lot. I like that the companies are trying to find some way to reward them, even if it's just something little like that. I think that's cool. Dead by Daylight does the same thing, right? You play a lot of Dead by Daylight, you get more blood points, you can buy more things in game, more outfits and skills and stuff like that. You can, which is really cool. You don't have to just spend real money on that stuff, which for those of us who play the game a lot, that's really useful, right? Because otherwise, I'd have to drop a lot more money on it, like real money.
I think what was it, Evolution or oh no, there was that one game that came out right after Left 4 Dead that had a lot of microtransactions. That was, I think, one of the first of the Dead by Daylight type games.
Hmm.
But
Oh, yeah, I'm not sure.
can't remember the
The
name of it.
newest one I've played is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and
Mm.
its setup is a little different. There's not really I don't think there's a lot of in-game stuff. I mean, you just get skill points and then you buy skills, and then the only thing you buy, I think monetarily wise, is you can buy different skins and you can buy other characters, I think, but I don't think you can unlock that stuff by playing more with that one.
So, I mean, what do y'all guys think about like, because that's another thing too, is there's not a lot of talk about like some of the stuff within our community about like what we enjoy about games, other than it's got to be retro and, stay retro, guys.
We're too busy complaining about other people and how they play and what they play to talk
Right,
about
right, yeah.
what do you
Like,
actually enjoy about your games.
hmm
You know what it
Well,
is sometimes though, because we got to make this point though about the retro versus modern. Sometimes we get so annoyed with the amount of updates and just system updates too, and just networking problems. Or then when we go to play a game, we can't get the matchmaking to work. And then sometimes it's like we just pop that retro on just to get fucking no bullshit for once, Like, so I
yeah.
think that is part of it, because I kind of like it's like the Tylenol for my headaches sometimes with modern gaming. Because me and Wubs have sat there and like we just went back and forth for like a fucking week about I got this game, but you don't got this game. Oh, this game
Yep.
doesn't have multiplayer. Oh, now I got this one, and there are significant modern gaming problems. So I
And then we
think
finally found a game to play, and we both have it. We both have the service, and it turns out you can't even play it online until you play like 10 hours of the
10
game. It
hours. Yeah, yeah.
was ridiculous.
That's the worst. I hate
Yeah,
that.
it
It's
You got to
sucked.
you
play
gotta go
these
through the
tutorial
tutorial
levels.
and several
Yeah.
levels before you can get to the part where you can
Yeah.
play multiplayer.
Right.
How about skip that?
Hey, we can all just play Helldivers. Apparently, that is the rage right now. I have it.
Right.
I haven't played it yet, but
Isn't it only on the PlayStation?
and PC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
My PC.
Yeah, I
probably
got
can't
friends
handle
trying to
it.
get me to get that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you hear a lot of people talking about it. But okay, back to what do we enjoy about gaming?
Mhm.
It's the games. Hopefully, it's the characters, it's some of the stories, particularly the gameplay. You know, the way that the mechanics, you know,
The escapism.
Yeah, the
the
immersion.
escapism. Like I'm playing through Web of Shadows again.
Nostalgia.
Yeah, the nostalgia. But I'm playing through Web of Shadows again on the 360. I've completed that game several times. I went through and it was during my achievement hunting days, which are thankfully past, but I got all the achievements for it. But I still go back to it, and like every year I'll play a day for a day or two and pretty much just swing around the city and do stuff. But not, I'm playing through it right now. But we just want a game that's fun to play,
Right.
and that's what it is. Have fun, get escape, accomplish something while you're playing. You know, um, whether it's gaining levels or beating stages in the game or just enjoying yourself.
Remembering why gaming is fun
Yes,
and why we enjoy it.
which
And how
as a
it
content
made us
creator can
friends.
actually be a little bit more difficult because like I got, at least for me, I got into focus when I started streaming. It's like if I'm gaming, I might as well be streaming. So if I'm
Mhm.
not streaming, I'm not going to be gaming. And so
Mm.
I bought games like, oh, I'm not going to play these until I can play them on stream. I bought Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker for the Wii U. It was like, this will be a great game to stream. I streamed it last year and beat it. They've already come out with the Switch version and all this other stuff. But I had this mindset of I just have to play it on stream. And I was like, I didn't open it for years because I was waiting until I could stream it. And I'm finally getting back to where I'm just gonna play some games if I've got some time. And last month I beat Lost Planet 1, 2, and 3 and had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, we were talking about that. Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't like this idea that, or just like all of the negativity in the community about the different things, or like all the division about, oh, you like this or that, but oh, that then you're not a real gamer or whatever. Kind of like we were talking about with the sports games and mobile games and things like that. That's one reason why I'm doing the channel that I've already done the interviews with you, Ryan, and Vince, that I got to edit, about what some of your favorite games are, because
Yeah.
it's really fun to talk about that and learn about these games that you guys have played, that some of them I haven't played at all. And it's
You
really
know what
fun to
the
just hear your
reason? You know
perspective
what
on
the
it.
reason I gave a lot of retro picks for my five? Well, all retro. You know why I did that, Vince? Part of it is for this reason. I like to have a lot of time down the line to digest something. Like even 10 years, sometimes I feel differently about a movie or a game. So when I picked, like, I think I picked 2 NES, one Super Nintendo, and 2 Genesis games as my
Yep.
five for my list. But it's because I've had all these years to think back on when I replay those games, what takes me back to that nostalgic place when I was a kid playing those games. But that may change because there's games that I'm starting to feel like on the 360 that I played that I kind of had that feeling for, but not enough time has passed. And I think those could replace them. So it's like, I don't know.
Right.
I think sometimes people, their comfort zone games, which I think is also a good topic, talk about like what games give you comfort. Just when you know you come on, you know where you're going, and you know that like what you love about the game, and you know what I mean. So it's like I think sometimes that influences it.
Absolutely. The games that make us feel like that stoner who just wants the casual games, right? Who like,
Yeah, that you were talking about earlier.
he's
Yeah.
high, playing it, but there's games that we could put in that we'd feel just as good, right? And without the
yeah.
drugs. So
I like all my games were all PlayStation games, except for, well, technically it had a port on the PlayStation, so just PS1, I think PS1
Right.
and PS2, one PS2 game. Most of them were all PS1.
Right, and that's your comfort zone.
Yep.
Like that's when you go back to, you have that feeling when you play those. There's like a safety to it. Like I'm not trying to like go like full on therapist here, but there is a safety to some of these games, a comfort to them that it just puts you in a good mood when you play some of these, you know?
Yep.
Well, it's definitely
I'll-
that way with collecting toys, comics, movies. There's movies that like if it's on, I'm gonna watch it, no matter how many
Yeah.
times I've seen it, because it's gonna bring me back. It's gonna take all my stress, all the drama, whatever I'm dealing with, goes out the window, and I'm right there with Jack Burton, and
Mhm.
stuff, or any of the movies I watch that I enjoy. Um, that's why I love toys. Everything I own is just a mirror into my past and or the present because have I get new toys and I get to make memories with you guys and everybody else in the community, and it's like I'm building upon it. And I I wish things were a little bit more welcoming for people, but that's what I try to do. I try to make sure people are welcome and stuff what I do because it's just how I am. But um I think that we forget where we came from and what made us who we are and the things that brought us joy. Um, we do that in a lot of lives.
Maybe the answer though, maybe the solution, the antidote to that, the
Mhm.
toxicity in the gaming community, maybe the answer is be more detached then. Be less aware of it all.
Yep.
Be less engaged in it all.
Hmm.
Or less critical. I mean, you can be aware of what's going on, but it's just like this Stellar Blade thing that just blew up. It was like everybody was making such a big deal out of it to the point where I was thinking, man, I'll bet they paid the journalists to write these terrible articles
had-
about their game just to create this drama because
Yep.
that game is going to
Manufactured
sell
buzz.
so many more copies because of the drama, the free advertising they've gotten for months out of that, like than it ever would have otherwise. It was like a brilliant marketing. Like the marketing they couldn't have bought better marketing for that game, than what happened just
Yep.
with all the gaming journalists.
Yeah,
I
wouldn't
almost went
have
out
heard
and
of
bought it.
otherwise.
Like, and I haven't bought a new game since Final Fantasy VIII in 1999. I almost went out and bought it. When that happened, when I was thinking about pre-ordering, I was like, oh my God, this game is gonna just crush sales records. Like this thing's gonna make so much money. Like if I'm thinking about buying this thing day one,
What were we gonna say, Owas?
Just yeah, that like I hadn't heard about the game, and so when it started popping up, I was like, "What is going on here?" And then it started, then boom, 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 just everywhere. And I was like, "Oh, well, let me look. Oh, it's PlayStation. Okay, well, I don't have to worry about it then. I don't have a.
there you go.
I don't have. I got a PS2 sitting in a box somewhere, but I don't collect for it, so
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Yep.
have. I don't do anything with the Sony systems. It was Sega and Nintendo. When Sega went out, I was like, I'll add one, and that was Microsoft. So
Okay.
I can understand
That's
that.
cool.
That's completely
Yeah.
it's just
understandable.
it limits on what I can collect, and so I've just stayed that route, and I don't have to worry about.
Yeah, I don't have a PS5 yet.
I don't have a PS.
He doesn't
I
have
have-
anything other than a PS2.
Yeah, I've got a PlayStation Classic that I thought I returned.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I'm
came
learning how
across
to
it when
hack
I was
mine,
moving.
so I can help you
I was
out.
like, oh, I thought I told my wife to return this. Oh well, maybe I'll get one of those USB.
But I'm like also okay with it because like by the time I do, there'll be plenty of games to get then.
Right.
You know?
Yep. And they'll
Absolutely,
be
Ryan. Like
more affordable.
Good price.
I wouldn't buy a PS5 now, like for the price they're asking at all. I mean, the thing's 3 years old. They still want retail. Like
Yeah.
they still want
Well,
500.
that version's going to drop whenever they release the Slim, and then they got the Pro system. So I
And
know
the
the
same with
Pro system.
the Series
I thought the
X.
Slim was already out.
No,
The PS5 Slim isn't already out.
no, you'll be seeing it. That'll be the new
That'll be
Stellar
December.
Blade.
That'll be in November.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, I thought they released the Slim, but they hadn't released the Pro yet.
Yeah.
I thought so too. That shows how much I know. I didn't realize. I assumed it
Yeah.
was out by now.
Let me look. I could be completely wrong right now.
Just wait for all the outrage to hit, and then you'll know when it.
Yeah. What are you
in
talking
the
about? You guys are a
chat.
bunch of
Hold
idiots.
on a minute. You're
Manufactured.
telling me
Do you guys even game?
Yeah.
Hold on a minute. You telling me all these drugs, Ozempic, Monjaro, all this stuff, and they don't have a Slim yet? Oh,
Here you go. Here you go. It does exist. Okay, it's out. Or at
Oh,
least
it is
Okay,
out?
that's what I thought. Yeah.
Huh.
All right.
But the other thing is, if people are willing to pay the price they're asking, why would they drop the price?
correct.
No, totally. I get that from a marketing level. Look at Nintendo.
Yeah.
Switch has barely
Don't-
budged in price.
Don't look at
Yeah.
Nintendo. They're not.
No,
they're
don't ever
super
look at Nintendo
consumer
as an
friendly.
example.
But
but hold on. It used to be that they would do the bundle for Black Friday and like Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
Christmas, because they wanted to get the entry point people. So that's
They
why
will.
they use that $2.99. Like, remember the PS4? They had all those bundles. That's like, you get a game, it's $2.99, and it's the PS4 Slim, and it's $2.99 out the door.
Yeah.
And
They'll
that
have
got
it.
a lot of new players in the game because
Mhm.
Yeah.
that's the entry
But
point.
Nintendo, all they did was like for their Black Friday deals, all they did was add Mario Kart and it was still the same price, right?
Yep.
I think for
Yeah.
most
Yep.
of those bundles.
Yep,
I mean,
yep.
I was in Walmart last week. They're trying to sell base Switches for $300 still. Like just the base model, not the OLED. The OLED's $350. The base is still $300. And I was like,
that's
wow,
gotta be
Nintendo has
something
absolutely
messed up.
crushed it. The fact that they can still retail this 7-year-old hardware for $300 is insane to me. Like I have mad
I think
respect
that's a
that people
misprint or
like
something.
want
So I
it that
think
much.
What the base model is $199, isn't it?
Nah, it's still 300. At least it was in Walmart.
Well, the OLED.
When you're thinking of the Switch Lite, the Switch Lite's 200.
Yeah, the
Right?
Switch
Okay.
Lite's 200.
That
Yeah,
might
but
have been
it's
what it
also
was.
been 200 since release.
Yeah,
Pretty sure.
But-
I don't think it's changed price either.
they don't have a it's still selling well. They don't have a
Yeah,
reason to
no,
drop it.
totally. I
So-
get it. Why drop the price? I mean, I totally get it from
Yeah.
a capitalist perspective. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
if you're a gamer and you're paying attention to the market and time, it's
It should drop
insane
in
that
price.
these consoles still cost like what they did basically
do.
at release.
Yeah.
You know,
Although-
like this has never happened before, to
Yeah.
my knowledge.
But part of it might
you know.
be the price of everything is going up, and so
Yes.
they can't
Right.
afford to actually drop the price as much as we might like them to. I mean,
Sure.
I saw the price of gas today. I was coming home from church, and I was just, I melted and died a little bit inside because every time that ticks up, everything that comes to a physical location is getting
Goes
there
up. Mhm.
from gasoline. So it's,
Yep.
price is going to go up. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to afford to do anything.
And this is something we already talked about before. It's like gas is the byproduct of every other thing that's made from petroleum, and it's like,
Yep.
of course, we're gonna raise the price because if a barrel of oil is this, but it's like you make like this plastic that was on this transformer figure. You probably made this case. You made like my toys here. You made all this plastic. I mean, gas should not be as expensive as it is at all because it's a byproduct after they make what they make.
So all this shit like is expensive, like right, like gas, groceries, but somehow you can still get like a 65-inch TV for $400 at Walmart somehow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. There's
Yep.
certain things that are really good prices, good values. These are the things too, like the price of these consoles, whatever. It doesn't really affect me. I have so many older games I could play, and I've also acquired most of the consoles now anyway, just through, deals and trade-ins and things like that. But for the average person, I just think it sucks that they're paying the same amount basically for 7-year-old hardware that people paid for it 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Dude, my mind is blown that I managed to get almost every game and I'm not rich. And I've managed to get almost every game I want anyway. I have even all the Switch
motivated.
exclusives. I have most of them.
I have most of them
But,
too.
but I
Right.
stayed the course.
But Ryan, you're not rich. You're not rich, but you're motivated, right? Like
I
you
make
find the
$15
deals,
an hour.
you hustle.
That's all I make.
Honestly, what it is
$15
that
an
like
hour, and I have a mortgage.
I could go out to eat, right? No, I can go buy groceries and make food at home, and then I use that extra money I would have paid a tip and for whatever and the
Yep.
gas I would have wasted to go get this nice game.
Right.
It's like the mentality I
Oh,
had
dude,
in the day was
100%.
like I wouldn't have my dad go buy me the Nike shoes. I was okay with like the $50
Yeah, I never had those
shoes.
either.
So my
Oh yeah, I
$100
didn't either.
shoes money that what I would have spent became video games and toys, and then I got $50 shoes that lasted me longer than Nikes. It's just like
That's still true for me today, though, Vince. I don't spend. Yeah, like everything goes into like either my mortgage or my bills, and then like games, toys, guitar. Like I don't spend hardly anything on clothes. That's why I'm not that stylish
Yep.
anymore.
he comes home, he's all like
Well, and also like just
sleepwear all the time,
Oh,
sweatpants
right.
and a
All of
t-shirt.
my new clothes, they're just like gamer, they're just like nerd stuff, right? It's all just geek t-shirts and
Yeah,
things that I don't even wear anywhere because I don't really go out much, but they're just for me at the house. I enjoy putting on a shirt that has Spider-Man and Venom on it, and like it's just more fun than just a plain black shirt, or a white shirt.
Well, I'll tell you what. Try to live in Florida. It limits your wardrobe. It's called t-shirts and shorts. Wear anything else
Yeah.
and squat crotch.
Right.
I was gonna wear jorts for this episode, but I put on my
Maybe
boots.
Sandals, right? That's it.
No, sandals should be outlawed.
Same
Sandals
thing
and
with
flip-flops.
Crocs.
Yeah, I don't need. I live in Florida, but I don't own any sandals because they like fuck up your feet, man. They don't have any support.
Right.
Well, I'm just a little bit north of you in Georgia, so I understand the heat and humidity.
Yeah.
You've been to Texas now, so you know the heat.
Oh, it's some days are worse there and some days are worse here.
Yeah.
It's like I didn't realize Texas was like that until I went out and visited my brother when he first moved out there, and I was like, I thought I was gonna get out of it, not get back into it.
Yeah, and the closer you come down to the coast, it's worse.
Oh yeah, thankfully he's up
Yeah.
north of Dallas, so
Yeah.
it's horrible, but it's not that horrible.
Right. I mean, you at least get seasons there. Like my dad gets actual snow. I don't get snow. We
don't get snow. We
melting.
get 2 cool weeks in the spring where it's like this should be what it's like all the time. And the same in the fall. And then it's like, oh wait, it's December and it's shorts and a t-shirt.
Yep.
And you're still hot.
Merry Christmas with my my Christmas wear that looks like I was going to go swimming somewhere.
Yeah.
I want to say, let me say one positive thing about I actually don't mind where we're at with the availability, and then somebody's going to say sky's falling, it's not going to be in any of the stores anymore, but I like that you can go to Target, Best Buy, Walmart, and they got all these systems and they got all these games. I mean, for now, okay, let's like not even worry about that they're all going to get removed at some point. But for now, because I remember the time when if you didn't get fucking Halo pre-ordered, you're not going to play it because you can't get it anywhere. You know what I mean? Or you're going to pay out the ass on eBay. Like I remember that time, and it's when I was in college. So like I actually don't. I think we're in kind of a cool time, and that they will price match. So I can go into Target or Best Buy, and I show them the Amazon price, and I can get it today, and they will match it. Like I think that's kind of cool. I think that's kind of positive.
Really, I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah,
dude, that's what
I
I've
didn't know
done
you
for
could do
6
that,
years.
Ryan. That's
Any price on Amazon, you can
Wow,
go to
okay,
any Target, any Best Buy, walk to the counter, say I need a match price match Amazon, and they will give you no trouble.
You can kind of do that for
Okay.
Walmart too, but they have to have it in stock.
Yeah.
That's the catch. But a lot of
Right.
this, so there's a caveat to all this though, with as we're phasing out physical media, right? The movie industry has been hurting for money, and they've been trying to find a way to raise the prices of Blu-rays and physical media.
What?
And
Yeah.
And the reason why is because, so think about it, this is a perfect time because we're still going to be able to get physical media because companies are producing. Like Sony actually has the rights to be able to produce Disney films. Why would Disney give them that if they're going to go completely digital, especially with their streaming service? So what do? You basically remove physical media from the physical store, so people have to get it online, which makes it a a little bit more expensive because they can raise the
You
price.
can control the prices.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because you don't have
The companies
so
have
many
direct
people
control.
having like, yep, there's gonna be a monopoly on it.
You force them
Mhm.
into streaming services, and
Yep. Or
So
that's the alternative, right? And it makes perfect sense for Disney to do that because they keep creating all of these horrible TV shows with the franchises that we love. They know that we're not going to keep subscribing. At a certain point, we're going to drop them. But what will we buy? Oh, a re-release of Bambi, in 4K, limited run for
for
50
40
bucks,
bucks, yeah, 50,
right?
40
From
bucks, yeah.
Sony's website. You know,
Well,
yeah,
'cause
right. Or at least some people do that. I'm not going to be one of them, but
yeah,
some
I'm not
people
gonna be
will.
one.
right
But
around
if
the
it's the Black
time,
Cauldron, they might get
yes,
me.
there you go. Yeah, there's still some movies
There
that
you
I
go.
don't have. They're on. I need on Blu-ray that have not been released for Disney films, the animated stuff. But
Yeah.
the like right around last year, I would say October, whenever they were trying because they were losing money and they were trying to finish that deal with Netflix, not Netflix, but Hulu, and they were like, well, our streaming service isn't doing good. So then you started seeing Mandalorian season 1 and 2 on Blu-ray being pre-ordered or up for pre-order. You had a lot of their shows starting to show up that they had been gatekeeping and not allowing people to buy. So
Yeah.
and it's the Marvel stuff. It's like you can see they're hurting for money because they're starting to push this stuff for people to get it online.
But I think that also shows like that's targeting collectors, because most of the time people that are going to buy it are going to be collectors or fans of the show.
Hmm.
But I bet you most of those people that are fans of the show that buy it are going to be they're going to have a physical copy, and they're going to be watching it digitally most of the time.
Correct.
Because I mean, what I wish would happen is that, like with movies, sometimes you can get the disc and digital. I love seeing that on movies, because then it's like, all right, now I might be interested in actually buying it because I can buy it. I can get my code on, was it now Fandango at home? We used to be Voodoo,
Yeah, Voodoo, yep.
and I can watch it there, so I can speed it up when I'm watching it on my computer. I watch it at 2 speed, which I want that. I want an option for that on physical media. But I think that's what we're going to be looking forward to in the future for our releases. Is you're going to get the physical version. It's going to be more expensive, but it'll be complete, referring to movies and to games and stuff. Like you'll get that Game of the Year edition, but that's the only version that's going to be released, but it's going to be more expensive.
Hmm.
And for some games, I think I will be much more likely to buy the version that's going to have everything on it. Like I bought Dead Cells Castlevania collection. I was like, okay, it's going to have everything on it. And I think they just announced some new DLC, but you wait long enough and it still doesn't always work. But that's
Yeah.
that's where my big thing, where it's like, are you willing to pay more for the physical version than you are the digital version? If the digital stays at 60 or 70 and the physical version for games becomes 70 or 80 or even 90 or 100, because all you're going to get is a collector's edition or limited edition.
Well, and think about
Dead
limited
Cells.
run.
Isn't that Charlie Sheen's blood type? Dead cells.
Hey, and enough alcoholic rages he has or whatever.
I was
Maybe.
going to say with a 0.08, 0.8 or something.
Yeah. No, but like limited run is another service, or the strictly limited, like where they take something and they put everything on the disc, and it's nice that they've changed things where it makes it where you have a chance to pre-order something versus like we have it up for this day and that's it at this particular time and you
Yeah.
miss out.
That I hate that version of it. Even with the toys and what is it? Marvel, not Marvel, Mattel
Creations, yeah, or
Creations,
the HasLab stuff too.
where they just it's this limited time, and so you've got to hit it right here, and it's like, why are you limiting the number of products that you could make instead of just being like, all right, we're gonna have a pre-order, it's gonna be open for a month, and anyone who wants one can pre-order 1, 2, 3, whatever, and then we're gonna make that number, instead of being, okay, we only made this number, and we're gonna sell them, and then the secondary market's gonna go crazy, and if you missed out, good luck finding it at this price again.
NECA is the only company I know of that does their pre-orders for 3 weeks or something like that. They'll put something up and it's like, okay, you have 3 weeks to try to get this, so figure it out. But like even with Hasbro, they'll go, all right, here's some new GI Joes, here's some new Transformers, and if it's sold out within the time frame, it's like you're the manufacturer, just have an open pre-order.
Yeah.
People are gonna want to give you money.
Yep.
Why would you want to not allow people to purchase your stuff and then end up helping out the secondary market where you don't actually make anything? You just made your initial sale and that's it.
Not only that, you upset people that actually want the product because they can't easily get it. I
Mhm.
mean,
Right.
for Masters of the Universe, I'm guessing they're just not going to be carried in physical stores anymore because the local Walmart has clearanced everything.
Really?
I got lucky and like I picked up Snake Man Skeletor. It's the first Snake series figure
That
I've
you've
seen
been
in
able
the
to get?
store, and it was clearanced. It was $8, and I was like, oh, cool. I thought it was like 10 or 15. Moss Man, which was a Walmart exclusive, the flocked version, is now $15.
Okay, I need to go pick that up if I can find it. I think I know where one's at.
Well, if
I
you
didn't
can't
pick him
find it,
up.
let me know. They
Okay.
had like 5 or 6 copies at my local Walmart. I'm waiting for it to drop in price again, and I might go buy several of them.
Well, and it's
Hmm.
sad too when like they move stuff to clearance and it's like, oh hey, we have Optimus Primal and Megatron, and they're $10 off than what their normal price was. It's like this isn't really at $50.
Yeah.
I'll wait. It's like for a
Yep.
20-year-old figure.
Yeah, there's a Grimlock one that's like a yellowish color, and it's clearance at like $27, and I'm just like, I can't do these colors. I'm sorry. I don't. If I can find it for $10, I might be able to stomach it, but
Mhm.
even at clearance at $27, it's like it's too much.
Me and Ryan talk about it all the time about toys, like trying to find stuff,
Well,
prices.
I'll tell you what's worse than that. I'll go to Walmart 3 times now in the past couple months. I've seen a Transformers box. It looks like it's been through Desert Storm. Like this box, it's like been taped, it's smushed, it's crunched, it's ripped, it's torn. And I said, can you scan this for me? Like, is there any kind of discount? This is destroyed. I mean, and I don't mind because I'm gonna open it, but like, and it's like nothing we can do until we discount until whatever discounts it. And like, I'll have them scan it, it'll say full price.
Yep.
And I'm like, how are you guys gonna get full price for this?
Yep.
It's destroyed.
They'll not. They won't. It'll sit there for weeks or months, and then when the whole line gets clearance, then they'll take care of it. Well, I went in once when Beast Wars Transformers was on the air, and I think they had a depth charge box.
Oh,
It
nice.
was the big dang it.
With the
I
pincers.
think what he
I mean,
was.
he has Depth Chart had the it was a Stingray or whatever.
Yeah,
Like,
the manta ray
yeah.
thing. But somebody had bought that, brought it back, and they had put scavenger, like the fire ant, in it. Had it they tied it down, everything. It looked like, and I was like, I hate that somebody did this and got away with it, returning it. But I was like, I want this because it's neat, it's funny.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is not the figure that's supposed to be in here. Look. And they wouldn't do anything about the price. And I'm like, you took this back, and someone didn't even look at it for a second. You know, they just like, beep, all right, and put it back on the shelf. And it's like, you're not gonna get this. And I mean, I think I tried to keep an eye on it for like a month, and then eventually it just disappeared. So I missed my chance. But I just like, but you can kind of, I guess you can kind of understand why they wouldn't discount it, because then they're gonna have people standing in the aisle going like, bloop, bloop, just in there. Oh, I dropped it. Oh, look, now it's all dinged up. Can I get a discount?
Well, they used to. That was what was really good.
Right.
Is like something come in. It was like we can't, either we sell it or it's going to just sit here until we possibly have the chance to send it back to the manufacturer to maybe get a potential credit. But
Yep.
they don't do it anymore because too many people are scamming them. Too many people are like, oh yeah, I'm going to take this figure here and I'm going to put, it's like this Batman figure. They took it back, and it has a generic Cobra Trooper in there with a mask on to make him look like he's Batman or some nonsense.
Yeah, and half the time they don't even know what they're looking for, which they can't keep track of everything that's coming in and
Dude,
out.
the damage on some of these boxes, though, I don't even know how they do it. I don't even know what happened. Because,
People trying
like,
to rip
it's
into 'em.
like, it's just like, you know, when like a box is worn to like the white underneath the cardboard printing is showing?
Right,
It's
right,
like
right.
that. Like, what the fuck happened? Did they like Ace Ventura this box and like take it down the street? Like that scene in Ace Ventura when it opens up? Like, what did they do?
Yeah.
What it was the it was the you know the was too much coffee guy from Mad TV, you know, the UPS dude. He just happened to drop it around all the way everywhere. That's what I wonder about, like when I get packages from Amazon. It's like, why did you put it in this plastic bag? Why was it in a cardboard box? Well, there goes this
Yeah.
collectible.
No,
Or-
but the last word on to summarize the gatekeeping, I like to put a fresh coat of paint on every year on my gate. And if you can put some extra, like a clear coat on, just to protect from the sun and any kind of fading, that's how you can ensure you keep up a strong gate and your pets can stay in your backyard. And that's what we meant, right? Gatekeeping.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what you need is like
100%.
the gate.
some gargoyles mounted on the top of them and stuff. And
Motion activated.
right, right.
There you go.
Electrocute that gate. All right,
Yeah.
while you're at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, solar powered electrocution.
While we're at it, can I get an Ed 209 that's like life size and says you have 10 seconds to comply? Back away from the premises. But no, and
Absolutely.
it's funny how like collecting goes into the whole gatekeeping thing, because even in the toy community, we deal with that stuff. And it sucks because, you know, oh, you don't collect O-ring GI Joes. Are you really a GI Joe collector? It's like, I watched the cartoon with you too, man. I was like, you're not that much older than me.
I guess we need to think about why is it that, because I mean I know there's been times like I've started down the gatekeeping path in my thoughts and I'm like, why am I doing that? Like why do I have
Right.
why do I have to try to make it so that the way I collect or what I collect or whatever is more special than what someone else collects or doesn't even collect?
Mhm.
You know, why
Well, also, shouldn't we by default not want people to collect like we collect so there's more for us? Oh,
Yeah, there you go.
That
You
is
we
a
don't,
don't
hot
want people
take.
to like. We shouldn't want people to like what we like because then there's more for us
you
to
don't
find.
want this transformer. Look, he's missing a head, right? Even though he's
Right.
partially transformed. He's not a
But-
good figure.
there is actually some truth to that because I collect for some uncommon systems. I was like, great. Oh, I love there's a new video out. It's great. And then I'm like, oh crud, it's gonna get more attention now, and it could drive up price. And now it's gonna be more expensive for me to,
To
the
acquire it,
stuff that's
yeah.
already hard for me to find, particularly the SG-1000 and the Mark III stuff. It might make it more difficult because it's gonna get out of my price range. But then it's like, you know what? I'd much rather more people know about it and be able to have an opportunity to experience in some form, whether it's collecting or emulation or just watching videos on it. Like, oh, cool, I never knew about that game and that system or whatever. But you have to come back and be like, why are we trying to make ourselves feel so special when we should just be like, dude, it's awesome that we can have this thing together,
Mm-hmm.
even though it's not done the exact same way. It's cool. I think that's something that through my marriage, like I had to figure out was like, we needed this, and this. And then when you start trying to micromanage, like do it this way and this way and this way, I was like, wait a minute. As long as it's getting done, particularly with kids,
Shouldn't
you're like,
matter.
not the way I would do it. Yeah, they're getting it done. It might take them longer, but they're getting it done. Why do I need to basically torment them trying to get it to do the way I would if they can find their own way of doing it? And it's a process that they'll figure out a better way of doing it themselves.
Yeah. I don't know. I've always been the type of person that like I love sharing what I enjoy, and hopefully it's something that people will get into and they'll enjoy themselves, and then we can talk about it. And it's like it gives people that ability. with anime and other things, I would always be the person to usher my friends into becoming fans of this stuff. So then we could talk about it and we can have like these intellectual conversations and stuff. But it seems everybody's like, I already know, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, we don't have to be that way.
You don't have to make me feel like fine. I'm going now.
Yeah, see you
Come
later,
on.
guys.
Just remember, phenomena.
Phenomena. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, do we have a thing to kind of wrap this up? We want to like one last question, maybe, or a message to leave to the audience or future collectors out there?
What were all of the
I
topics?
had one thing I wanted to add. I don't know if it's like a good thing to end on or not, but I just wanted to say that what kind of piggybacking off of what Ryan said earlier about how I think or it was somebody said that some people just play Game Pass games even or they have a subscription service where they play games and it's just there's so many different ways you can access games either physically or digitally now like it really is an amazing time to be a gamer
Yeah.
and if you don't necessarily care about having a physical collection or maybe you don't have an attachment to physical games because you're a younger person and you just never got into it or were exposed to it for whatever reason, honestly, the value you get out of just having an Xbox with Game Pass or a Nintendo with Nintendo Online for $20 a year is crazy. The game libraries you can get access to for relatively little money is just amazing. I mean, if you have a PC, if you have like just even a low end gaming PC and you have an Epic account, Epic gives away free games every week. They usually give away 2 free games every week on their service. That's insane. It's amazing to me more people don't talk about that because some of the games are really good that they give away. And they always have a bunch of them at Christmas. They usually do a bunch of really good ones. And it's like you don't really need a lot of money to be a gamer at all. Nothing like you did when we were kids. You definitely had to have more money to be a gamer. Now you could go to the arcades with a bunch of quarters and do that. You didn't have to own anything.
Mm.
That's that was sort of like the cheap way of doing it when we were kids. But now it's like, man, if you can just get a Switch and you got $20, you can get a whole year of Nintendo Online, and play what's on there, right? With the base virtual console stuff. And there's a lot of good games in there that you can play. And that doesn't even begin to talk about emulation. If you got a PC or hell, if you got a phone,
A
you
phone,
can
yeah.
you can emulate all kinds of stuff, And I'm not recommending people do that, if they don't have the actual games or whatever. I'm not advocating piracy here. I'm just saying you got a lot of options in 2024 if you have any interest in gaming, whether you have a lot of money or basically no money.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the things that like we live in this world where we are so connected and we have access to almost everything and we can experience and enjoy it, but we still somehow gatekeep and it's kind of sad. So just play what you want, enjoy it, have fun, make friends.
Enjoy your passion and enjoy that you actually have the opportunity to share it with other people. Something because like my wife and daughter think it's fun to watch me when I'm at the retro conventions. Like we're gonna go to Southeast Game Exchange, and I think this is where they first made the comment a couple of years ago. Was like you're a totally different person when you're there because of how easily I talk to people because I'm introverted but how easy I can just strike up conversations and talk to people because it's like these are my people. And
Hmm.
it was the same when we went up to Toylanta up in Atlanta, just striking up conversations, talking with people, talking about the Lego, talking about Transformers. When I picked up the Autobot Arc, um, sat there and just talked with the guy I was trading it for, and just talking about the stuff that he'd picked up because he was vending, but he's also a collector, and I mean, just great being able to hang out with people that you don't even know, but you have this common common, I was gonna say common goal, but it's not even a goal. It's just this commonality with that you can easily talk to, and you may not agree on everything, but I think for the most part, most people are like, cool. I hadn't thought about it that way. Don't agree with you, but whatever. But it's just like, hey, I like these toys and these toys, and because you can be a Transformer fan and you can like G1, you could like G2 with the
Mm-hmm.
strange coloration, but then you got Beast Wars and Armada and Robots in Disguise and then the movie versions and then just so many different things. And it's just like, you know, you don't have to all collect all of the Transformers and you don't only have to collect G1, but there's so much to enjoy. Why make it difficult for others?
Yeah, you should want
Enjoy.
to like bring on the new generation, because if like everyone stops loving something and you don't pass it on for somebody to start loving it too, then it won't be around for anybody else.
Yep.
And
And if you make it just such a hostile environment, no one's going to want to be there as it is. And then it's all it's going to do is hurt your hobby.
yeah. So Ryan's phone died. So he said fun episode and bye everyone. But yeah,
Okay.
no, yeah, I this is fun. And I think that there's a lot to unpack for people. I know we joke, we jest about like things that we find annoying, that things happen within the real world, our friends or people we don't know. And it's we got so much things going on in our lives that are just so hard that we deal with. And like sometimes we just want to be able to play video games and forget everything, or play with a toy and just be taken back to another time. What would you leave for people that are collectors just getting into it? If they're dealing with gatekeeping in any kind of community, what advice would you guys leave?
Remember that you're collecting to have fun. Um, and, and it's something part of streaming that I've just, you know what? If people show up, they show up. If they don't show up, they don't show up. I'm playing the game to have fun.
Mhm.
Have fun playing the game. Have fun collecting. Have fun finding those things when you see something on the shelf or you see it someplace at a good price. Or even just when you walk into like an old toy store, an old retro shop, you're like, oh, I hadn't seen that in years, and just enjoy the memories that you have. Enjoy the memories that you're making. Try to make good memories, and if there's people around you giving you a bad time about the way you collect, then don't talk to them about your collecting because some people don't understand it. So, but you play your games, have fun, collect what you want, how you want. Well, not necessarily how you want. You should pay for it.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
And
But
don't be a pirate, but don't actually be a pirate and
yeah,
like go and pillage and
you need
steal.
to be paying for your stuff. Don't be stealing other people's booty.
Yes.
Right, right. Well, don't be stealing stuff, but also remember, if buying isn't owning, pirating isn't stealing. I'm just saying.
Hey, long-term rental.
Yeah, long-term rental. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I bought this
right.
game and maybe it paid for these other 10 that I downloaded.
Frequent your local mom and pop shops. We want to keep
Yes.
those around. We
Yeah.
want to have places where the nerddom can gather.
And
Um,
conventions,
and
go
conventions,
to
the board game
conventions if you
shops.
can.
Yeah, we last December, I think it was, we found that there was a board game shop not far from where the retro shop and the toy shop are, and it had been there for years. And we were just like, how did we never see this place? Didn't know about it. Like we'd gone to the local comic shop, and they sold board games and stuff. That's where I picked up Marvel Legendary. But like I had no idea the shop was there, and just tons and tons of board games
Oh,
and
that's awesome.
some nice thematic puzzles. I put together an Optimus Prime or Transformers puzzle last year or the year before and streamed that. But I got that puzzle there. But frequent your local shops. You know, think and when you see the prices on them, also sometimes remember they have overhead, so
Yep.
they may not be quite where price charting or eBay is, but you know, They
But
do actually
also,
test the
if you
games.
can go there, right? If you
Yeah.
can go to a shop like that, hold it in your hand, whatever it is you're going to buy, that's worth a few more bucks than eBay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Remember, because you never know what you're going to get off eBay until you're holding it in your hand.
Yep.
So I would, hey, Wubs, what do you want to add? I got it.
Oh, I was just going to add. I mean, those are all really good takeaways, I think.
Mhm.
But I would just add again, like, don't don't let anyone tell you what you should or shouldn't like, or what version of something you should or shouldn't like. 'Cause I see that a lot these days too, with all the remakes coming out. Like, some people are really anti-remake, I feel like, just by default, because they're like, oh, it could never compare to the nostalgia of the old game or whatever. They're gonna mess it up or whatever. I was like, just play it, man. Like, just play it and check it out and see if you like it. Um, don't go into everything with this sort of preconceived notion of, don't decide if you like something or don't like it before you actually experience it. That's what I would say to take away for, collectors too, because who knows, you might find something that you're not expecting to get really into, but you really like it.
I want to add something really quick. And also, don't compare your collection to somebody else's. This
Yes.
isn't a year's collecting. It's not 2 years collecting. It's not 5 years collecting. It's not 10 years collecting. It's not 20. It's not 30. It's some of my childhood stuff. And I'm in my mid 40s. And this is slow acquisition over all of that time. Because even when I wasn't playing or collecting games, I was generally collecting something else. So, not only play what you want, how you want, collect what you want. Don't let somebody else make you feel bad for the size of your collection
Mhm.
if you're okay with it, which you should be.
Yeah, it's an extension of you. Your collection should represent your personality, what you love, a talking point for people that you meet, or, because some people may not be on YouTube. Don't be afraid to reach out to people and ask about how they did something, but don't force yourself to be in a community that doesn't want you, you know. Try to
Yeah.
gravitate to the people that do, and your personality will shine, and your collection will shine. But don't rush into it. Take it day by day. Maybe look at what you have. Maybe things that maybe sit in a box at your parents' house that you just haven't looked in at 20 years, or 15 or 10. Go check that stuff out. You're going to be flooded with emotions. Um, Collecting is a fun thing, but it could be a very dangerous thing. You can get addicted to it. You could fill a void in your life with collecting, and that could be a bad thing. Um,
You can
but
go into debt
Mind the
collecting.
finances.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why, like, this is a long time. It's not, oh yeah, I didn't just
Hmm.
go out and spend a bunch of money and, oh look, I got $50,000 in credit cards. Look at me. They love
Yeah.
me at the credit card company.
Hmm.
Yep. There's nothing you can collect that is better than a roof over your head and a good meal.
Yep.
Okay, nothing. There's nothing better than that. So you got to have priorities.
Hmm. Well,
Um, the other thing I was going to say, kind of related to that, is just remember you can't take it with you, right? All of our collections, they're just for while we're here, but you're not going to be able to take it with you. So enjoy it, however big or small it is, while you have it. But just remember in the back of your head, you can't take it with you. Someone else, you're going to have to pass it on to somebody else eventually.
yep. Whether it pays for your kids' college fund or whatever, or maybe your funeral, you know.
Right?
But no, just enjoy it. Have fun. That's what it's all about. That's what video games are about. Movies, all this stuff. Yes, it may be escapism, but when it comes down to it, it's something to pass the time and to get your mind off of what's going on in life. So enjoy it, make friends, and until then, thanks guys for having the time to come on the episode. And Ryan, thank you too, man. But we hope you guys enjoy this episode. And we'll catch you later.
Thank you so much for having us, Vince. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, anytime, anytime.
It was great. Always fun.